Hello and welcome to the Simpsons Index. We have an amazing episode for you today featuring our good buddy TheRealJims. He's helping us review Pingal, which sees the return of Jacques after 33 years, and also the episode where beloved character Larry the Barfly dies. Oh no, so sad. But before we get into the podcast, just wanted to quickly tell you about our other podcast. It's called Starring Springfield, and we are reviewing the movies that star the cast of The Simpsons. And we have already reviewed such cinematic classics like Baby's Day Out and The Lion King 1.5. But look, we have a lot of fun over there. I've dropped some links in the show notes, but for now, let's get into the Simpsons Index. The Simpsons Index, an online spreadsheet that is also a podcast. This is the podcast. Coming to you out of SideQuest Studios, this is The Simpsons Index, episode 299. Hello out there, I'm your host, Elliot Jay O'Neill, joined, here as always, except when he's not by BT Calloway.
Oh, hi.
And joined by returning champion, all the way from YouTube, it's TheRealJims.
Hi, this is TheRealJims, #1 Homer Jacques shipper.
Oh.
He just flew in from YouTube and boy, is his arms tired.
That's right.
Man, I can't wait to see that episode in season 41 when they're accepting all of us Simpsons fans, podcasters, YouTubers, scripts.
Well, not to get ahead of ourselves, but after this episode, I'm not looking forward to that one. So
Yeah, after 41, they're just going to start taking AI submissions.
Well, I mean, one of us made it across the line. Julia Prescott from Round Simpsons, Everything's Coming Up podcast. She got to write an episode.
Right.
Yeah, and hers was really fun. I remember, I think she did, was it that Treehouse of Horror? Or which one was it that she did?
Yeah, it was one of the, it had 3D animation and the toys killing Bart.
That's right.
Oh, right.
Yeah, I think that was the one where they did the Russian doll Happy Death Day parody too. Yeah, I enjoyed that one. That was a good one.
Yeah. So, yeah, hire us Simpsons writers. We can... We're as good as Julia Prescott, surely.
Joel.
I believe it.
But, yeah, thanks for joining us once again, James. And... you know, we ask our returning champions, and it's usually the answer of no, but we know for a fact with you that you have been keeping up with The Simpsons. So how have you been enjoying The Simpsons lately? Are you just watching it for the purposes of making your videos, or do you still do casual watches of the show? How are you going with it?
Oh my gosh, why did I come on the podcast this week? Okay, so really wacky confession time, but I have actually not been watching the current season of The Simpsons lately, so I am totally behind on it.
Oh my God.
I was blue sky tweeting this out a while ago saying how since the winter break, or I guess summer break for you guys, ever since that break, I kind of just fell off of watching the season. And it is not anything, quote unquote, personal. Like, it is not an indictment on the show, but I was saying that I have to take Simpsons breaks sometimes just so I don't completely drive myself crazy and burn out from doing YouTube stuff. So I'm like currently on my like Simpsons sabbatical of like trying to watch as much other things and like get rid of the Simpsons for a while. So, but what I have seen of the current season, I liked generally. But, you know, it's always a little uneven. But yeah, you're catching me at the time where I've watched the least amount of Simpsons, ironically enough.
Well, look, fair enough. I imagine it's in that, you know, episode with Itchy and Scratchy and Marge is just, you know, it's summertime over there, the sun's come out, and you just turned off the TV, wiped your eyes, looked out, and, you know, that nice flute music is playing, and it's like, I'm
going to go play some stickball outside.
Yeah.
That's exactly right.
Fly a kite.
or being recommended weird shows by Netflix, that too.
Well, what has been on the recalibration watch list?
Okay. Well, okay, this is funny, like on a non-Simpsons program, but I've been kind of catching up with like random anime things that are like on Netflix and stuff.
All right.
Like, cause I'm kind of an anime novice. So I watched like on Netflix that Kotaro Lives Alone show that was from like 3 years ago. And then Netflix, they recommended after that watching Beastars. So I've been watching that and gradually turning into a furry, I think. So I've been doing that. And yeah, and then I watched like this reality show that's on Netflix, The Devil's Plan. It's ridiculously nerdy. So the people who are into like reality TV, you guys know. But yeah, I watched that too. So yeah, I've been kind of just catching up on random things on Netflix lately.
Oh, cool. Actually, Beach, going from a recommendation you had a little while ago, I started Blue-Eyed Samurai, which, I'm quite enjoying that one. That's
that is a fun show.
Anime on Netflix. I think it's American produced.
Yeah,
but...
American produced, but they definitely nail the, trashy samurai vibes. Is fun stuff.
Ooh.
Yeah, very trashy, very good. And unexpectedly violent. And a lot of nudity as well. So for those Thrones of Game listeners, I think this is a good parallel recommendation
nudity
as well.
and violence.
Ooh.
Again, unexpected for a cartoon, but it's great.
Yeah.
I like how you invited on the Simpsons YouTube guy, and then we got into like a Blue Samurai discussion. Like, you didn't expect that to happen, did you, today?
Yep. Look, I was also going to say, as long as we're in this corner, off pod we were talking about you were getting into D&D a little bit. I'm going to chuck a recommendation to Delicious in Dungeon, or Dungeon Meshi if you want the original.
I did watch that last year, I think. It was a fun show.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, other animations that aren't The Simpsons, just to recalibrate our brains a little bit.
Yeah, that became a bit of a comfort watch for me, like a real, I can chuck it on while, doing cleaning or folding laundry. Like, not an indictment on it, but, it pleased that level of engagement for me.
When I first started watching that show, I made all the Blue Sky people mad at me, I think, because I think I tweeted out, because, the first couple episodes, I can't remember the characters' names, but the elf healer girl, Marcille, I think, is that her name?
Marcel? I forget, don't worry.
Okay. but I found her character very annoying in the first 2 or 3 episodes, and I said, hey, does this character ever get less annoying? Because it's, I might drop the show. And they're like, how dare you say that about her? How dare you? She's, everyone's favorite character, I guess. And she did... To the viewers, she did improve. I do like her, but the first couple episodes were a little rough for me. So,
fair.
Were you subs or dubs for that one?
I do dubs because I'm a filthy Westerner.
No, because I was about to say, when I was watching that show while doing other things, that was when I was watching with dubs. And when I was watching with subs, that was one where I was like, oh, okay, that's actually improved a couple of characters for me. It's
the subtitles?
Yeah.
I was going to say, dubs is just default how it was delivered to me, so that's how I watched it.
Oh, okay.
I guess I do a rewatch with subs. That'll work, change things.
Yeah. You know what? I've actually been interested in doing a Simpsons rewatch with subs and watching it in Spanish or something because I want to see how
that Duolingo feel. Really improve your language skills.
I get people asking me sometimes to review non-English Simpsons stuff sometimes, and I was like, well, I don't feel qualified at all to even talk about that stuff because what do I know, But it would be fun to just kind of watch it in another language.
We've had a couple of looks at this, because we've done DVD and extras over on the Patreon feed, patreon.com/SpirinkField. But basically they do have little clips of what different countries' interpretations of the voices are, and at least a little sample is interesting to see, okay, if you're trying to sell the idea of, an oafish man, what does Homer sound like in German or something like that. So it's kind of fascinating to be how do the cliches play out in different languages?
Yeah, and some of the B tier characters are the really interesting ones, how they'll approach Mr. Burns, where some languages will lean into his old man witheriness, but then others will lean into the brutal tyrant. It's really interesting, diverse range of approaches to the one character.
I love hearing from people where they talk about how the dub and the presentation does change the culture's general how they've accepted the show, because I've heard from a lot of Spanish viewers because they talk about the voice actor for Homer in Spanish, that I think it's Humberto Velez, or I can't remember his last name now. I know it's Humberto is his first name, but they said he did it for they had the original voice cast for the first 15 seasons, I think, and then after that point is considered a big drop off to a lot of Spanish viewers, where a lot of American speakers were season 8 or bust, but a lot of them, they have a lot more nostalgia all the way through 15, which is really interesting.
Interesting. Well, all fun topics and such, which, are unfortunately not the main topic of today's podcast, because today we are here, as always, to review Simpsons. And I threw out a few episodes for you to pick from, James, and later on today we're going to review the episode where Larry, the beloved character, dies. But before that, we're going to review this one. This is Season 34, Episode 17, Pin Gal. First released in March of 2023, it was directed by Chris Clements, written by Jeff Westbrook. In this episode, Barney's Bowlerama is going to shut unless someone wins a bowling game, so Homer gets Marge to do it because the Pin Pals were going to, but then they kind of get written off this episode for some reason. Anyway, at a certain point, Marge gets the yips, and Homer, wanting Marge to win this big important game, gets the best bowling instructor he can find, and it's returning from season 1, it's Jacques. And he tries to make his moves on Marge again, and then ends up being her competitor for this big bowling game, which determines that Barney's Bowlerama will stick around. Anyway, hey guys, what do you think?
So that entire description, I was suppressing a very loud...
I feel like my synopsis then had the energy of someone who was scribbling that on the walls.
I think it had about the same amount of energy as Albert Brooks's performance, to be honest. So,
bam, savage but real.
A little tired, wondering what I'm doing here.
It was not quite as rambly as him in this episode. So,
thank you. That is a very huge compliment.
Yeah, look, this we had some complaints on some previous episodes about, does the show want us to remember it or not?
Mm-hmm.
Because I knew not going into this one that they changed the lineup of the Pin Pals, and I'm sitting there watching, I go, okay, but is this, it's on the back of their shirt, and it's got Lenny and Carl in the Pin Pals, and they weren't originally, but is that going to be part of the episode? And it's kind of not, so I was happy to let that go. What bothered me immeasurably, and what I'm going to try my best to evaluate this episode free of, is... does this episode, like, okay, it wants you to remember Jacques, because if you haven't seen that season 1 episode 34 years ago, then you're not going to understand the central conflict of this. Mm-hmm. But at the same time, Homer knows about Jacques. Marge told him in that episode where they have the romantic montage clips, it's done. So you're meant to remember that, one from 34 years ago, but not that one from 29 years ago. No, don't remember that. It feels good to get that off my chest.
This episode is another Simpsons clip show erasure, and
you will not stand for it.
Yeah, and come on, it's everyone's least favorite episode of the classic era, but it is a part of the classic era. Like, come on, guys.
That's it. Like, in our overall rankings, if we didn't have another Simpsons clip show, season 6 would be our top-rated season. But because we kind of shiny-failed it, I think, it dropped the average down so it's in 3rd place only because of that episode. Otherwise, it'd be considered our best season.
Yeah.
I'm impressed that you shiny-failed it. Like somebody gave it a participant in that case?
Yeah, I think that was the case. I can look this up on the simpsonsindex.com.
Yeah, I don't remember. I'm surprised it was... I didn't think you were at failures, maybe participants. I don't remember anymore. That was a long time ago.
Yeah, that's it. In a dank far, far away. Yeah, someone participated it. So, yeah, I gave you the list to pick from. Jims, why this one in particular?
Why this one? Actually, I kind of wanted... this is going to be a weird confession, but I kind of wanted just to have an episode to yell at on this show. So that's why I picked this episode.
Look, I understand. Sometimes anger is just fun.
But the real reason
what is
is
it?
like...
Guys would rather do a podcast than go to therapy or something.
That's exactly
Of course, we're
right.
white boys. It's what we do.
Sorry, do go on.
The real reason is, though, like, I kind of just wanted to reevaluate it because when I first saw it, I had a pretty strong negative reaction to it. I don't think I had seen it since its initial airing because I just kind of put it in the back of my mind. So I did kind of want to watch it again this time to see, was I just being a grumpy person then, or do I just really dislike this episode? So there was a little bit of a reevaluation I wanted to do by asking for this one.
Yeah, well, sort of similar here. Like, I haven't seen this one before watching it for the podcast, and like, this is something that they've done before. There's, I think, a season 29 episode, Singing in the Lane. Yeah, so it's changed a couple of times, and, we're talking about Blue Sky before, because Al Jean has went on a bit of a Blue Sky thing, and
of course he did.
Was defending this and an upcoming episode. It might have already aired, but apparently there's this episode where they once again changed the lineup, and I think Steve Carell's involved in it now. Again, I haven't seen that episode. So anyway, I commented on a Blue Sky post just being like, why are you guys constantly changing the Pin Pals lineup without any justification or story purpose explaining it? And he actually replied to me.
Oh, no way.
And he said, Pin Pals are like the Avengers or any bowling team with fluctuating membership. And I'm just like, I didn't even reply to him because I'm like, my guy... The Avengers don't just show up in a movie with new superheroes in it. There's been
like, hey, remember when we added this one? You'll remember that. Anyway, moving on.
Yeah, like there has been an exhaustive amount of solo superhero movies to build up to that point where it's like, okay, the Avengers now, I don't know, MODOK and the third Captain America by now. I don't know. I haven't kept up with the franchise. Anyway, my point remains.
There's something out there that will justify that move, yeah. And to say the Pin Pals are an ever-changing thing would undermine this episode, because in the beginning, Homer finds out the Bolorama is closing, but he hasn't been for years. And yet the Pin Pals is a team that's always been there and always been going and constantly changing members. What do you mean? It's like, well, you're already undermining your own point. We can get nitpicky about this if we fucking need to, Al.
Well, that's the Index way.
I mean, he has a point about how bowling teams do change over time. Like we just talked about D&D a little bit, and like those change. Like you do Ship of Theseus it sometimes, but like I don't know about the Avengers comparison. Like I kind of buy the bowling thing, but like you're right. Like it doesn't really fit with this episode. They clearly just threw in the reference because it's a reference. And it's The Simpsons, but then like it doesn't work at all with the plot that they went with.
Exactly.
Yeah, I mean, and to be fair, this episode, it's not about that at all. That's really not the thing about this one I'm gonna harp on about.
Yeah, so it does leave me with a big, well, why include it in the first place? And like, to just include it anyway, like you just, especially in an episode which brings back Jark, like you're already inviting that. You're rehashing the past. So, I just have a big question of why do it. Yeah. And especially because, the point at the start of the episode, Homer makes, why are places that no one goes to anymore closing? And it's like you're saying, PT. They've established that, so why establish that they're still going?
Yeah.
Anyway, sorry, I've already been ranting a lot, but I think my big takeaway and I'm going to say what stands out to me is I think this episode is actually an episode of Family Guy. Like, and I didn't mean to be wearing this particular shirt today, but
everyone, it's Peter and the chicken fighting. Only Peter is dressed as Link from Legend of Zelda.
It's a very good joke for those that know. If you know, you know. But anyway.
Incidentally, I'm wearing my pizza with the Triforce on it.
And what's your Zelda merch today?
And I'm wearing a Dr. Pepper shirt. Remember the Triforce of Dr. Pepper?
Dr. Pepper, Legend of Zelda, and pizza. Hell, that's a Friday night in my books.
It was the Friday night in most of my books. But anyway. Look, there's just so much sketch and cutaway and fantasy humor and in this one that, look, and, over the course of the podcast, my stance on Family Guy has changed. Like, I feel today, like, I don't hate it, but, like, it's a very inconsistent show. And, one brilliant sketch from one show could be surrounded by a terrible episode. But, it is what it is. It's junk food TV. And I don't exactly have a problem with Family Guy. But, when I'm watching my Simpsons, I want my Simpsons. And there's just such a frenetic energy to the bits in this episode, and none of them being funny. There's so many fantasies, there's so many cutaway gags, and Lisa doing like an Adrian Rocky impression is
the fingernails.
Oh man, that's another thing, is animation, style can be about what you choose to leave out on details. And, Simpsons, generally characters don't have eyebrows. And like, there's been a couple of exceptions to that rule, but today's the one where I'm like, oh yeah, you never see the Simpsons fingernails. This is why it doesn't look good.
I hate it. I hate it. Any episode where you see, like, because sometimes you'll see, like, Homer's fingernails briefly. Like, anytime you see them, it is, like, the most off-putting thing in the world. It is one of my biggest pet peeves. Please, for the love of God, do not show their fingernails. And that little scene was, like, how long is it? Like 20 seconds, 15 seconds of her fingernails being on screen. And I just like cringed the whole time. It's so, and like she's like cutting the nail. Oh my God. Like, ugh.
Yeah. For listeners, Jim's shoulders are shudder shrugged all the way up to like the base of his skull. It's dramatic.
I just hate those fingernails so much on The Simpsons.
I agree.
They're so like, they're like on the very end, they're like weird nubby claws at the end of their little yellow fingers. It's terrible. It's like nightmare fuel.
Yep.
Yeah, like, of the couple of times, like, they've showed, like, characters with polished nails or whatever, they never quite get it right because, like, there's a certain roundness to a Simpsons finger.
Yeah.
So then, in this close-up of, like, it's even a bit Nickelodeon where they do those gross close-ups. And, I don't know, maybe it's just the coloring of The Simpsons as well that makes these nails look extra gross.
Yeah, because it's also a yellow nail on a yellow skin, because it's kind of the suggestion of why you never see them, is they don't, but it's just your fingernails are the same color as your skin, which is the same color as your hair. I did not want to think about this.
Yeah,
now I am.
I'm imagining the animators' therapy sessions. There's the whole thing with the Mortal Kombat animators where a lot of them actually had severe trauma from, animating the fatalities and whatnot. And yeah, I'm just imagining the one guy in the room is like, oh yeah, I had to animate the Simpsons nails getting cut in this episode. They're like, oh my God.
Yeah.
That's
and
truly awful.
there's no good solution too, because it's like Bart's hair, where it's like, where does his head and his hair begin and end?
Yeah.
So it's like, you can't really have them like cutting off a tip of the finger, so then you have to draw it. And it's like, once you're going through this many layers, like, why are we even doing the joke anymore? Because it's not even that good of a joke. So
the Rocky reference for all the children in the audience.
Yeah, it's Lisa's favorite movie and character, Adrian from Rocky.
I mean, let's be real. Like, that joke was in there just to give Lisa something to do in the episode, because she and Bart have like... Actually, I realized watching both the episodes today, we picked episodes that Lisa and Bart are not in at all. Like, they barely have anything to do with either of these.
True. Well, what else stands out to you from this one, James? What stood out to you for better or worse?
Oh, for better or worse, I would say the big climactic bowling ball duel at the very end.
Oh, yeah.
It was interesting. I kind of get what they're going for, but I think I liked this joke better when they were hitting each other with motorcycles.
Yeah.
True. There is a certain escalation of wackiness there that were like, I don't think this fight didn't work. But it also highlights a big problem of this episode to me, is that a lot of the jokes is bowling puns and French jokes. And like, there is something to the comedy of like sword sound effects while they're hitting each other with bowling balls.
Yeah.
I thought that was a bit of fun, but also, I don't know, I kind of go back and forth on this fight scene. So things I like, things I don't like.
I think if you were having more fun, it would land better.
Yeah, maybe.
Like, and I felt like it wasn't even really that stylishly done. Like, they just kind of swing at each other a few times. Like, they do like the old Shino Ballo thing, although it wasn't really the Shino Ballo. And like, they do that weird, it was like that hole drilling thing almost comes down his head. So they do that.
Yeah.
But other than that, like, where is the actual action and the panache to this? Like, they're just kind of lumbering at each other and then it's over.
Yeah. And I agree with you. Like, so one of the advantages with the Disney era is they've got a lot more budget and stuff for animation, and I feel that more comes out in just the character animation, where Jacques especially feels like
very fluid and closer to rubbery.
Yeah, that like old Disney style that they were originally avoiding in The Simpsons, and like, yeah, he is so much more French in this episode, and I feel like that comes out in this scene where he's like, explaining to Homer, and like everything's got a hand movement and something like.
Yeah,
especially compared to season 1 animation of Simpsons, he was so much more static in that. Yeah,
I think wasn't the thing where like in the first draft of that season 1 episode, he was supposed to be like Dutch or like Norwegian or something. I think.
Is that right?
Yeah, he was a different nationality, and it was changed to French, which meant that they didn't litter the whole script with French jokes, because Albert Brooks just brought in this French accent, so it brought like something to his character instead of him just being like Frenchy stereotype over here like he is in this episode.
And yeah, that's a big problem for me in this one, is that they just lean on these stereotypes so much. We talk a lot about the whiteboard form of writing that New Simpsons often takes on, and it feels especially prevalent in this one. And yeah, when you've got such a gifted improviser as guest star of this episode, Albert Brooks, but yeah, he's that much older, and it doesn't feel like he's well, I don't know, like, if he's improving as much, but yeah, the improvs, you mentioned it before, Jim, it just feels a bit more rambly. Yeah,
they're really stale and rambly. I found them like, and I was sitting there like, this is the same guy. That's sad.
Yeah, it was really like, I don't want to be over dramatic here, but like, it was very depressing to listen to, and I felt the same way as the first airing, because it's just like, Albert Brooks is an amazing comedian and actor. Like, he's had such an amazing career, and it sounds like I'm eulogizing him right now, but his performance here is just so flat. Like, the magic of his little like rambles was completely gone. There was like no chemistry between him and Marge. It was just like, he came back and he just like doesn't have it anymore. It's like watching that. Here's the comparison. It's like watching that quarterback playing his last year in the NFL, where you realize that like this character, this quarterback is washed now. And I don't want to say that about Jacques because he's such a great character from season 1.
Yeah.
But when you watch him in this episode, he's washed, and it's a huge bummer to see.
Like, I can't prove this, obviously, because I wasn't there for the recording, but again, from doing the DVD and extras on patreon.com/SideQuestSeries.
Links are in the show notes.
Links are in the show notes. We've also listened to clips of, Albert Brooks and Julie Kavanaugh just riffing with each other. And my guess on this one is they're not in the same recording studio. They probably recorded Albert Brooks's improv separately and then had Julie Kavanaugh react to it. And I think that's what kills their chemistry and what kills that back and forth, is he's just like, okay, what's going on in this scene? Here's the improv without any kind of, feedback from another actor. And I can't prove that, but it feels like it. There's no sense of them riffing back and forth.
Yeah, and to clarify, I'm not saying Albert Brooks, the actor, is washed. I'm sure he's still very funny and very sharp, but you're right. There was not that interpersonal chemistry in this episode, and that was the magic of the last episode.
Yeah.
100%. And I think that's kind of the brilliant thing with, where they brought back Albert Brooks over the years, is that he was playing a different character every time. And, when you do that, you can rewrite the have a new character to work with the current state of the actor. And this one, it again, to bring up the point, is just, why bother reviving this? Because it's a weird story, of bringing him back, and I don't think it's justified at any point. In my synopsis, it sounded so rambly and ravey, and maybe I'm wrong here, but I don't know what the point of Marge playing a good bowling game saves this bowlerama.
I was the same way. I got to the end, and I'm like, okay, so ignoring all the stuff about whether or not we're supposed to remember Simpsons history or not, what is the core, plot of this? And it's like, okay, an old spark of Marge's comes back into the frame. He's still into her. She's not. There's no plot there. That's it. It's like she doesn't want anything to do with it. There's no temptation. There's no anything whatsoever. It's just, Marge, I still love you. And she's like, no.
Yeah.
Yeah. And there's not even a conflict with Homer this time, because I get that they're very conscious of, we don't want to do the same episode as last time where Homer is an asshole and Marge is interested in him. So they definitely are nicing up Homer here. He's a giant teddy bear and sweet. But it's why are you hinging some of the episode's plot on does Marge still have a great relationship with Homer? She tells him up front that Homer has changed as a person. The episode demonstrates that Homer is much sweeter and nicer to her about the bowling. He's not jealous at all about it. So everything is great between them. But the episode wants to make a meal out of it, and it makes no sense in this case.
Yeah,
no, 100%.
Nothing to it.
How about you, BT? What stands out to you from this one, for better or worse?
All right, so this one was 2024 or 2023?
2023.
All right, because I have two notes of hipsters in 2023 and then Facebook in 2023. Both of these are very long done.
So this episode also brings back Terrence, played by other guest star of this episode, Fred Armisen. He was previously, I think, as a season 24 episode, The Day the Earth Stood Cool. So a whole 10 years after they did their hipsters moved to Springfield episode.
His one appearance in the entire show, and they're like, Terrence, we know you. Remember that episode in season 24 and season 1 as well? Remember that? Don't remember season 6?
Yeah. He's not needed in this.
He's just has this little rant about how he's gonna not turn it into a bowling alley, but turn it into a bowling alley themed bar or something, or cafe, and that's about it. And it's like, all right, whatever.
Yeah,
I guess they were just looking for an excuse to bring the character back because they just like working with Fred Armisen, I guess.
I mean, fair, sure. He seems delightful, but
but
whatever.
There's something about that where it's like, okay, I think they're trying to make a comment on, a bunch of these old institutions, sort of businesses that aren't successful in the modern age. I thought bowling alleys were still kind of profitable, whatever, but you think of drive-in theaters or something.
I literally went bowling for my 40th birthday. It was fun.
Yeah. But, like, yeah, there are things of, like, having to repurpose, like, retail spaces in shopping centers, and that's why you see, like, a lot of escape rooms these days.
Yeah.
But to repurpose a bowling alley, I think that's where they made the connection to bring back this hipster character. But also, yeah, he doesn't really do anything fun or funny in the episode. Yeah, like you said, BT, it just feels like 10 years after the fact going, fucking millennial hipsters.
Yeah, but I think it's just they needed someone who was, out there enough to make the bet of, okay, well, if you beat the guy I picked to bowl against you, I'll keep the bowling alley open.
Yeah.
The funny thing about it was that his business plan, like, if he would have like maybe kept some of the bowling and repurposed like the space and turned into like more of a mixed entertainment kind of place, because like there are a lot of places now that have like maybe like 6 to 8 bowling lanes or something, and then like have like a barcade around it, or like axe throwing. Like there are totally places like that around. So like his idea, like to kind of like maybe not totally get rid of the bowling, but it was clear that in this business model that they could not support like a 24-lane bowling alley anymore. So like in one sense, like not to use my like Shark Tank hat right now, but like it kind of does make sense from a business perspective to do this.
Yeah, to diversify. And like, because there's even a gagger like at the start is just like upkeep is too expensive and all the lanes are warped, and then Molman goes to bowl and then it just returns right to him, and man gets hit in the crotch by bowling ball. Like, there's an excellent nod to the past. But then also, who's this fucking owner here? That's not Barney's uncle. Like,
oh yeah,
so weird. It's just a random new character, and then like, also making the effort of having the pin pals with the emblem with Barney in it now. And then they're like, oh, but he's off in Mexico giving them clean drinking water.
I will say I did like that joke. That was a good like subtitle joke, I thought. Like, it was very Family Guy, but I liked that one.
Wasn't that the next episode?
Oh, no. Nope. Oh, no, it was the next episode.
I think that's why he's not on the road trip for the Ashes.
Scratch that. We'll just cut and copy that into
the other episode's very Family Guy-like, too.
Yes, I've actually got a direct Family Guy episode I can compare that to, but we'll get to that when we do. First, we're going to talk about the wackiness of this episode. How were the cartoony moments?
I mean, it has that extended fantasy sequence of Homer getting introduced to nachos, and then someone saying, wait, was that young you having that fantasy, or was it old you? It's like, I was confused as well. I don't know where I land on that one.
Yeah, it's, again, feels very Family Guy to do the sketch and fantasy thing and then have a character point out, oh, what's with this elaborate fantasy sequence? Yeah.
That's not just Family Guy. That's just like a straight up like Simpsons jokes they would do back in the day too.
Yeah. I guess with this one, it just it didn't feel good or make me happy, so I'm a bit more critical of it.
I mean, to be fair, at this point, I am primed to dislike this one. I'm trying my best to like view it as neutrally as possible, but you step on shaky ground when I know they're going to be changing the past.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, I will give you a positive one, though. Maybe this will be a controversial take, but I did kind of like the other fantasy of the Flintstones octopus above the thing. That was kind of cute just because it was wacky, and then they did it another time, and Lisa called it out. So that one was okay.
Yeah, I think that's... I guess it comes back to the other one earlier, is just, it's the extra beat, it's the tag on the joke. Yeah. Where, like, I enjoyed the Flintstones thing, and then the reveal that it's Homer's just fantasizing, but the Lisa going, he spends more time in this world than our world. It's just, well, that's sad, and there were better ways to get Yardley in the episode.
Yeah. Honestly, there were a lot of lines that were like that, like, oh, I like this joke, and now you've taken the extra bite, and I don't like it as much anymore.
Oh, the very first scene when they're like watching the news together, and Homer's like literally yelling the things at the TV. Like, this was full of modern Simpsons stilted dialogue where they're constantly indicating to the joke or like saying it as awkwardly as possible, and that's the joke. Like, I thought by season 34 they were getting over this shit, but I guess they weren't, because it was really popping up again in this episode.
Yeah, I mean, look, even the couch gag does this, where basically it's just this, hand with a box, and it brings out like the couch and then the individual Simpsons figures, like it's a play set, and I'm like, okay, yep, that's fine. But then like a random dog just runs in and grabs Homer, and it's like, I mean, it's not bad. It's just that extra bit added nothing.
Well, it's just nice to see a couch gag in the 30s, as you pointed out on your latest video, Jim, and as we pointed out on our guest appearance on Murph's Tavern, which... For any of you listening out there, completely coincidental. Neither party knew that was happening ahead of time. It was just one of these random coincidences of the universe that those two episodes happened to come out at very similar times.
When you told me that, I was like, I should have sent you my spreadsheet of like research and stuff because I was totally ready to go.
Yeah, we were honestly just flying off the seat of our pants with like, Wikipedia page open. Yeah, that would have been so helpful.
The seat of my pants have not recovered.
But no, fun podcast. Go check out Merce Tavern. But it was very nice to see a rare Simpsons couch gag in the 30s. Like, because you were saying like it even happened less than I thought it does.
Yeah, like maybe I should open another tab right now. I am literally doing this while on the podcast and opening up. Here we go, season 34. Let's see how many there were.
He's on the seat of his pants, everybody.
There were literally... Oh, actually, there's more than I thought. There were like maybe 8 couch gags in that season.
Wow. Not a lot.
Not too terrible. And there's one right after this episode, too. 2 in a row. Amazing.
Oh, interesting. Because... yeah, they make these shorter intros now to make way for all this story that needs to get in there. But were there any more wacky moments that stood out to you?
Look, a positive one. There's a bit where, I can't remember why, but I think it's when Marge gets a really high score, and everyone's celebrating and hugging, and the bowling mascot hugs Carl, and he has this moment of, what the hell? And there's like, and kind of just leans into it. I thought it was funny.
I liked that, but this was one of those confusing montages where they were mixing it in with, like, irrelevant jokes that also weren't funny, like Cletus applying for a bowling shoe payment plan.
Yeah, it really pads up a lot of stuff. I wasn't even sure. I'm just like, there's Cletus with a form. I don't know.
Well, I think that one was because he was drawing an X like a strike, I think. So it's supposed to kind of misdirect maybe.
But
okay.
It didn't. No, I got that was 4, but it was still like, even walking away from, like, did I get that correctly? Because I feel like what I understand of it doesn't. So I did take it back and check. I'm like, oh no, I got it. It was weird.
Yeah, not especially inspired joke.
No, that's kind of the headline you can have for a lot of these. And yeah, in terms of wackiness and animation moments, this episode makes repeated references to The Queen's Gambit. You know, we're talking about Netflix before. Great Netflix show. Yeah, I didn't think there was a single joke in any of these Queen's Gambit ceiling references.
It's just, looking at bowling, but with math.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was kind of confused about why. Like, I guess I get why they went for it, but bowling is not like that. Like, if you know where the pins are, you know that you need, when you have a split, that you need to hit that pin across to the other side, and you need to know, like, the angle. But it's not like chess, where there's, like, maneuvering.
Chess will have a million different factors going into it, whereas bowling, the pins are always in the same spot, and you are bowling from the same direction.
Yeah, you don't have a competitor where you're like, well, what if they do this, or this? Well, then I can do that. And, like, it just feels like it's there for the reference. Like, the closest they get to the joke is then when Homer's like, I have to concentrate too, and then just imagines a pizza on the roof, and he's like, pizza is good on the ceiling as it is on the floor. And I guess that's circling a joke, but again, it's just to do the visual reference and the music and such. Like, James, you're talking before about like the style of the fight. It's like, well, yeah, there wasn't anything particularly stylish about these scenes either. Like, because when the Queen's Gambit do it, there's like a real etherealness to the way it's animated, and it looks very cool. This is just, pins and math. It doesn't, it's not visually interesting.
Yeah, honestly, a misdirect could have been funnier with, like, Marge visualizing all this math and stuff, and then just has a notepad that says knock pins down or something like that. Yeah, look, my last note of whack is also, I had to double check. So Marge's first bowling game, she gets like a 262 or something quite high, very close to 300. In the one against Jock, it's 184 to 182. And I'm sitting there like, motherfucker, I've done a 186. I'm not even good.
Yeah.
I was just got lucky one day. Like, these are very achievable goals.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Like, Jacques is washed when he's only bowling a 182. Like, what the hell, guys? These are supposed to be great bowlers, and they're like literally like missing on non-split ones and stuff. Like, come on. They got to be at least bowling like a 220 or something.
Yeah. And I guess that's why, like, I was so critical of the stakes in this one, because it just feels like really muddy why we're even doing this. Like, surely Jar could want the bowling alley to stay open, and whatever.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, there is just that general question of why, in general, why did they have to bring back Jacques? Why are they even doing a bowling competition this episode when the guy owns the bowling alley? Like, why is the question of the day?
Yeah.
And like it kind of gets a moment where at the very end they're like, haha, we win, you have to keep the bowling alley open. He's like, yeah, you tripled business, of course I'm going to keep it open. And it's like, okay, that's a good kind of, not anticlimax, but something. I don't know what to call it.
Oh no, a bunch of this feels like anti-everything, anti-climax, anti-heart. But speaking of which, how was the heart?
Like, the closest I got was when Homer goes around to Jacques' place and he sees, his walls are covered in photos of Marge, and I'm like, when did he get those? And I'm like, cool, we have another storyline where a guy's obsessed with Marge. Cool. But then he has the only real heart moment I felt, which was, I was so focused on not losing the bowling alley, I nearly lost the most important thing to me. And that's a nice heart phrase, but in terms of the reality, he's not about to lose her at all. She's not even remotely tempted.
Oh, completely agree. Like, I didn't feel any heart in this episode. Like, they certainly tried, as BT mentioned there, but I didn't feel anything about Homer and Marge because there was never any threat to the episode. They made it clear there wasn't any threat to the episode with Marge, so like it's a sweet moment at the end, but like, who cares?
Yep.
Yeah, we haven't been on a Marge and Homer journey, and like, not that we necessarily want that anymore. Like, as even you pointed out in your video, Jims, it's like we've done the Marge and Homer relationship stories like so much that it can be divided into several subcategories. Like, so I don't really necessarily want to see Marge and Homer on the rocks, but like, if you do, like, a Homer's obsession of the bowling alley getting in the way and putting too much pressure on her, that is something. Like, there is, like, a approach that this episode sort of veers towards of Homer being over-supportive to the point that it's a fault, but that's not the case. He's just being overly supportive, and there's this guy trying to horn in on Marge. Yeah.
Okay, another small moment of heart. There's a bit where Marge bowls well, and she kind of turns to Homer and goes, are you mad that I'm good at that thing you like?
Okay, yeah, that's
He's like,
a good
are you
one.
kidding me? I think you're amazing. You're like a butterfly who can kick field goals. I'm like, okay, that's a nice little moment of, I like that this could be an episode about how they're on the same side and have something else going on.
Yeah, that works.
That moment was really nice because it did kind of feel like there could have been an alternate episode where Homer does get jealous of her, and it is a hang-up for him that's like, oh, she's good at my thing. And it becomes like kind of a fight between them. So like, in a sense, that is a good point. That one did kind of give me the warm fuzzies because it did, like, the episode wants to show that Homer has grown over the years, quote unquote. And that moment did show it, that of like how supportive he is of her. So I do agree with you there, but then where they go to it afterward, like, doesn't make sense with the conclusion they're doing.
I was very much about to say as well, don't think about time. Because her temptation with Jacques was earlier this year, according to chronology, because the children haven't aged. Yeah, don't think about time.
Yeah. But like, and again, like, Jacques there's a fleeting moment where he's being tempting and Grandpa's in the bowling alley with Homer again for some reason, and he's like, oh, I don't like the looks of he goes, I never say mark my words, but mark my words, and he says that 5 fucking times, and he's like noticing the suspicion, but like, there's only a fleeting moment where Marge is ever like charmed by Jacques and his help, but like, for the most time she's like, I don't like you, I don't want to address that we had a past, I'm doing this for Homer in the bowling alley. Like, we don't ever get a sense that Jacques is ever close to being a threat.
Do you think, like, here's just kind of an overarching question, do you think that this like unfinished business of like the almost Marge Jacques affair, do you think that is interesting enough to follow up in an episode like this? Because clearly, according to the writers, the answer was yes, that there was enough meat on the bone that you can get a story out of Homer finding out about this, like, aside from the clip show or whatever. Like, do you think there is enough unfinished business to make this worthwhile?
No.
Like, you could, but there is a part where he does find out and doesn't really. He's mad at Jacques. There's no tension between himself and Marge then. So even if we're ignoring that he does already know, which this episode is, it doesn't create anything new.
Yeah, or like, I'm not the biggest fan of Life in the Fast Lane to begin with. Like, I think I ended up on a silver or something for it. Like, a lot of people love that episode, but
ooh, we're gonna fight now.
Silver's still great. I think I even went into that session going, I thought I was going to rank it a bronze, but like it is still like a really good episode, and like Albert Brooks's charm and charisma really carries that. But like it does feel singular in that way that, yeah, I don't know if there's much to gain, even if you do go it from the angle where, yeah, even that's another thing that Al Jean Blue Sky tweeted, what it bleeded, I don't know what you call it. That's another thing he said when someone addressed this, is just like, oh, clip shows aren't canon. And it's just like, it's the old Harry Shearer quote, you know, it's like they're punishing the fans for caring at certain points. But yeah, I mean, what do you think on that, James?
I mean, that's fine. Like, if they want to get rid of the clip show, like nobody cares about that episode. The writers don't even like it. So, I mean, to some degree, I say fine, get rid of it or whatever. But I do feel like this episode came out like 20 years too late. This is the kind of thing that you do in like season 10, maybe, and you follow up. Whereas like watching it now, it's like you're going back to something 33 years ago, and you're like who gives a shit about this anymore? Like, that happened 30 real life years ago, and I know it's only like, what do you think? Like maybe 4 months, 5 months in their continuity or whatever. But like from our point of view, like this is old news. So and get over it, guys.
And honestly, by doing this, you're just inviting the comparisons. And I think if anything, you should be avoiding that so much in this modern day of The Simpsons, where look, this show's taken on a new life and a new form, and some of the episodes we really like are the more experimental ones where they try and carve out a new what can this show be. And when they do shit like revisit the past like this and not do a great job of it, it's like, well, what was the point?
Well, even to that, even taking this solely as a modern episode, if you haven't seen that season 1 episode, this won't make sense to you. They don't do a good job of explaining it. So if you're a new viewer who was maybe born, I don't know, 20 years ago, and you're watching this show, you're like, I don't get it.
But how many people are like that, though?
I don't know.
Like, who are watching season 34 and don't know that season 1 episode? I mean, I guess there are some people.
I mean, there have to be. And like, I can, because a lot of people, you know, do give us shit for giving The Simpsons shit, being like, oh, it's for a new audience. Is it?
Yeah, but like they don't even like show clips from Life in the Fast Lane, which is weird because even Homer goes, oh, I disappointed Marge, and then has the fantasy where he remembers like looking down Maud's dress, the Vegas wives, etc. Yeah, they've already sort of set some precedents which they don't follow. Yeah,
I thought we were gonna get, for a second, when they did the flashback to like him giving her a lesson, I thought we were gonna get that like HD pretend SD like thing that they do sometimes, but they didn't in that case.
Yeah, like we saw in Lisa the Boy Scout, where they do that modern season 1 style animation, which might have been welcome, but yeah, it wasn't.
Yeah, I don't know. Like, watching this episode, like, it just reminded me a lot of like when they brought Lurleen Lumpkin back in like randomly in like season 17, I think. Like, I really am wondering if The Simpsons should never ever do a sequel episode ever again, because it does feel like they're just trying to play the old hits.
Look, let's put it this way. If we deleted from history all Simpsons sequel episodes, what are we really losing? Herb Part 2, which is a decent episode. And that's about it.
Well, I mean, post-season, like, because
all
like,
the Artie Ziff follow-ups, thank God they're gone.
Oh, I don't know. I stick up for a few of those. Like,
yeah, but not a lot of them.
I mean, Half Decent Proposal is pretty decent. I'm fine with that one.
Yeah. Yeah, but I mean, is it worth it for losing the Drek for these okay-ish episodes?
Yeah. Also, leaning into my mic, I would argue that the second Unky Herb episode isn't that good. So.
Oh.
Yeah, no, fair call.
It is.
Back that.
It was a lot more cobbled together than I remembered it being. Because I think that one was like a weird holdover episode that they like aired off season, I think.
Or something weird like that.
I know it's the last episode of season 3. According to Wikipedia and everything.
Yeah, I think they were going to air it in 4, but they rush released it or something, so it's a little bit slapdash together, and it definitely has that feel, but Danny DeVito does a whole lot of heavy lifting. But yeah, to your point, BT, let's lose Camp Krusty. Like,
oh God, I forgot about Camp Krusty. Fuck.
Haha. But ultimately, does this feel like an episode of The Simpsons?
Feels like a shallow copy. Feels like, the big couch gag I alluded to where they take out the Simpsons playset? It feels like that. It feels like taking out your Simpsons playset and smashing characters together while making vroom vroom sounds.
I guess. It just felt like a stale diet version of The Simpsons. Like, I'm trying not to... I like how you're having me on and I'm being like the super negative one right now, but like, it just feels like every like the stereotypical shitty modern Simpsons episode in terms of like everything is just a little more stale than what you wish it used to be.
Yeah, I did a BoJack Horseman rewatch somewhat recently, and the phrase Xerox of a Xerox is really sticking with me with this one.
Yeah.
It's just, it has that feel where, like, I don't think there's a massive integrity break. You know, like we said, we don't really have jerk-ass Homer. It's just a pale imitation. Anyway, yes or no, would you watch this one again?
No, thank you.
Well, I kind of have to watch it for like research and for like being on podcasts. So like I would watch it again, but it's not one that I will do in my spare time.
In a professional capacity.
There you go. But
yeah, you often say this one, BT. If there's like an academic reason why I have to watch this, sure. But
yeah, if we're doing a dissection on, you know, good sequel episodes versus bad, sure. But for fun, fuck no.
But what would we like to change, BT?
Just give it a different storyline. If you have to bring Jacques back, give us something else. There's something about Marge using her bowling skills and maybe feeling guilty about this relationship. I don't want to see Marge being tempted. That's boring as hell. But, you know, we pitch the idea that Homer's being like too pushy to get her to win, or is maybe too praising, or something else. This one just needs another plot line entirely. I don't like the one we have because there's nothing there. There's nothing to grab onto. There's no conflict or anything. It's just it happens and then it's over.
How about you, James? What do you reckon?
I don't know. This one seems really difficult to quote unquote fix in terms of my criticism. I guess I would say I kind of would try to maybe change it where you keep another Simpsons clip show where Homer knows about the affair and just get all that stuff out of the way here, and then maybe start some kind of conflict where they need Jacques around to help her with the yips perhaps, and Homer feels that conflict of, I want to save the bowling alley, but this guy is a creep and I don't trust him. Like, that's kind of a cliche, just saying it aloud right now. But it could, like, you could address the issues without like retreading all the stuff that we've done before. So maybe I would change that. But even that, I'm not totally sold on.
Yeah, like it's at least a bit interesting and playing off the past and like Homer having to accept this for the greater good of getting the Bowl-O-Rama back, because honestly my note of change was just to be like, tear it up, try again, like this doesn't do anything. And honestly, Jim, that's an amazing call, because I don't have anything for this one. There's not ones where like, and I'm going to say this a lot for the next episode, there is so much there on the floor that is worth fixing. For this one, not really. Like, maybe save the Molman bowling gag, because I really like, and that was my big laugh out loud moment for the episode. But I mean, much like Family Guy, you can grab that and insert it into somewhere else. I mean, even hitting on it before with the whole idea of reinventing a bowling alley to be more appealing and like have more shit going on, because like we're saying before, like bowling alleys now have like axe throwing or karaoke or arcades attached to them, so there can be a thing of that where Homer just wants the old dingy bowling alley where he can sink bottles of beers with his friends, and like nowadays they're like dark and with fluorescent lighting and like loud techno music or something. Like, there's something, but like even then, it's a bit old man yells at cloud, and I don't want to see that either.
There's something to be like, he goes to the bowling alley, but they don't serve beer anymore because it's a family-friendly place now, or something like that.
Yeah,
it's
that's a good one.
Different angle.
Yeah. All right. Well, it's time for our final notes.
Now it's time for our final notes. Everyone's final notes.
Jim, have you got any more notes about this episode you want to mention before we move on to the rankings?
Okay, here's my final note. I think that laser tag and Crocodile Ranch is a fun idea, so I'm on board.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, sometimes hipsters do have good ideas. Was that all your notes?
Yeah, basically. I think I've aired out all my grievances at this point, so yeah, I think that's it for me.
How about you, BT? Anything else?
Yep. Look, a joke that, again, I started off liking and ended up, they felt like they took too many bites is, Homer's watching the news and he's like, and Kent Brockman's like, eggs, which were good, then bad, then good, then bad again, now good again. And I thought that was enough. And then they have someone lean in and goes, and he's, this is sin, they're bad again. Like, no, that was funny enough to just, all right, whatever.
Yeah, that one was circling a good joke, but it's, Yeah, Harry Shearer's delivery, man, this is an issue these days. Like I think we're over talking about Julie Kavner and Marge. Like, I've come to a point where I can accept it, but it's Harry Shearer's the one that's bugging me these days.
Yeah, fair.
It's kind of okay on Kent Brockman because like it kind of gives Kent the like I don't give a shit attitude, maybe.
Yeah,
but like he was more energetic in the past, but it's not horrible. Like it's not like Mr. Burns level bad, but it definitely is low energy.
Yeah, because Mr. Burns' lines just flop these days.
Yeah.
Okay, there's a line I liked, which is, Homer's trying to get more people to bowl, and he's like, no one's coming to bowling, and the fire department says I can't lock people in. I like the line, and then they do a visual. He shows him locking Kirk and Luann in the bowling alley. I'm like, that didn't need that. It was a funny line. Look, there's a bit where Jacques is like, I can make anything sound sexy. Garbage disposal. I'm like, okay, that's not bad.
That was the one bit of his seemingly improv that I was on board with. The one that immediately followed it, which was, his name Homer. I'm not going to have an affair. You have nice hair. I'm going to drive my Corvair.
Fuck, that was
If
so
it wasn't
bad.
already exhausting, because like, I don't drive a Corvair. It's just the one I could think of that rhymed. Stupid. And I'm like, yeah, it is stupid.
Yeah, thanks for the stupid. During like the final showdown, there's a sign up front that says Super Bowl today, and then has a little asterisk next to bowl, and then an ing. I'm like, Super Bowl ing. Like, okay, sure.
Yeah, not
That's
bad.
cute.
Yep, and a bit I did kind of like is when Marge is bowling, Homer kind of comes up to her, hands her a beer, she takes it, kind of looks at it, then gives it back, and he just drinks it. I'm like, that's fair.
That wasn't bad.
Yeah, and didn't need the cut of him throwing the beer on a pile of empty beer bottles. It's like, no, you had enough. You can stop.
There is
And that
so
is all
much
my
extra,
notes.
but
Elliot, over to you.
There was just, again, with the frenetic Family Guy energy, there was just a lot of, in the beginning of the episode, when Homer's trying to get Bart's birthday party there, and Milhouse says, this soda machine doesn't accept phones. And then it cuts back to them having dinner, and then a quick thing, and then it immediately cuts back to the bowling area. It's just a very, like, unsettled energy where looking at the dialogue, it could have all taken place in one spot and just not been so cutty. And even, like, in that scene, there is just such an of-the-moment joke where it just feels like you just took modern references, wrote them on magnets, and threw them at a wall, didn't you? Like, he goes, when I'm driving down Crypto.com Boulevard, I see all the cannabis dispensaries that used to be internet cafes. It's just like, this isn't a joke.
Hey, the Simpsons and like the various seasons, they used to have those internet cafes on the street and then those cannabis places, so... What does that say about The Simpsons?
I think it severely narrows down which state they're in, because how many are cannabis friendly these days?
Yeah, that's true.
More than you'd think. I think even my state does it, and Ohio sucks. So.
Oh, yeah, here's the extra beat on the Flintstones thing that, you said you liked, but here's where it soured for me, where Homer then goes, yabba dabba doll. It's just, didn't need it.
Okay, I'm not going to defend that.
I actually liked the act break where Marge and Terrence are in each other's faces, and she does like a mic drop on him, and then goes, "Oh, I'm so sorry."
Oh, yeah. I did have that note. That was a very Marge thing. I'd like that as well. I forgot about that note.
Yeah. Another sad Lisa line. Lisa says this is an early sign of neuroses, but I'm always right. And it's like, and then she faints in the background. It's just, this poor girl. They put her through enough. You know what? Actually, when they reveal Homer's going to get a bowling instructor, there's a shot of the Simpsons house. It's shot from down up, and there's lightning, and they mix it in with a bit of bowling sounds. I'm like, oh, okay, that's a nice subtle play on the old Angels bowling thing.
That was cute.
Yeah, I'll pay it that. Oh, yeah, here's that note I wanted to circle back to you with before, Beach. You mentioned, Facebook in this episode.
Yeah.
I initially found this whole old people calling tree thing very confusing. It was just a mix of what the fuck are they talking about, and I feel like that was circling a good thing of like, boomers being all up on Facebook these days, and being its most active members, and I thought they really could have played with that with Grandpa, but again, it was so cutty and jumping between various settings that, like, it should have just been Grandpa getting on Facebook with them, and it's like, how do you know about Facebook? It's like, it's all boomers know these days, or something like that.
Yeah, there's something there.
Why did they do that with Grandpa, of all people, now I think about it? Because the plot is you need them to find out about the pictures somehow, but why did they decide to get there through Grandpa and his friends?
That's a split. Yeah, that's a split. They have this, I'm going to get my sleuth old people onto it. and they have that little montage of him calling various people, and then
Who are
he just
not
checks his,
talking about this. They're talking about other shit.
but then like scenes later, he just checks his Facebook, and it's like it would have been funny to play off that, be like, I'll get my network on it, and then together they figure out how to Google something.
Yeah.
But they're just unrelated bits. It's weird.
Yeah. Homer did have a line that did call back to the season 1 episode, which I liked. It was like, you just had brunch. That's breakfast getting it on with lunch. I'm like, that's not a bad line. And then Jock gets arrested in the end and has to go back to Paris and complains about it for a long time. And
Yep. And with the way things are going over here, he will never be able to come back. So hooray, Jacques, I guess.
Right.
Dodge the bullet, buddy. All right, it's time to rank this thing. On the Simpsons Index, we'll rank using a 6-point scale, which starts down the bottom at failure. Maybe if the episode was just meh, you give it a participant. But for the positive rankings, you got okay, bronze, good, silver, excellent, gold. But for the best of the very best, you give cubic zirconia. I'm going to go first. Let me show you how it's done. I am failing this one. I found this episode annoying and arrogant to bring back the past for these half-baked jokes. The characters felt enough like themselves, but the show as a whole, like, again, this was a bad Family Guy. And, you know, like I said, I don't hate Family Guy, but it's the shotgun approach to doing a wide array of jokes and just hoping some of them stick. And look, in this case, none of them did. So that's where I'm at. BT.
Yeah, I'm on a fail as well. Look, even ignoring the breaks and, you know, whether or not we're supposed to remember the show or not, my main thing that really bugs me about this one is there isn't a story. There's nothing here. There's no arc for Marge because the audience and she already know we've already dealt with this. There's nothing going on. There's no conflict. It's just a person from her past comes back. She feels a little bad. There's nothing else going on. There's just zero here. So to bring back a beloved character for no reason and to just make everything worse for it.
Yeah. Oh, and sorry, just to add to that, they have the fourth act thing and where Homer at one point goes, oh yeah, was our relationship ever in doubt? And everyone in the crowd goes, yes. And it's like, again, it wasn't that episode.
No.
Yeah.
It was never in doubt. That crowd is wrong.
And Jim, please finish it off.
Okay, so I'm going to say it this way. So you know that argument about the Simpsons movie that Russ Gargill should have been Hank Scorpio in that episode, in that movie? And people argue that. Well, this episode demonstrates why those people are wrong and why you don't always bring the character back. Because this episode's a failure.
Hey. No, that is a solid-ass point because, yeah, I think having Hank Scorpio in the movie, would have felt like a move like this. And it's not carving out it being its own thing. And yeah, that's the thing with this. It just doesn't stand up on its own.
Yep. And yet also doesn't want you to remember anything.
All right. Unanimous failure. Sorry?
I was about to say, I thought you were going to skip this part.
Not at all. Unanimous failure. We are giving this episode the index
finger. Was I supposed to join in?
We love our 3-part harmonies. Look, this will actually only be the second unanimous failure from season 34. It'll be joined by the Many Saints of Springfield, which I believe is when Ned Flanders and Fat Tony become friends.
Yeah.
But also have a hard time remembering a lot of these episodes.
Yeah, I don't even remember that one very well. And I've seen it.
Yeah, I mean, season 34, just to end on a positive note, there are some good ones. Like, we do have a singular gold in this with the shiny silver ranked Treehouse of Horror 33. That's the one with the Death Note parody. Bring it through.
Yeah, that one's great.
Yeah, end up referencing a lot of anime in this podcast today. That's unexpected. And, you know, we liked Habeas Tortoise, and Lisa the Boy Scout is in this one. And it's like, yeah, there's some fun to be had. It's not a total write-off season.
There you go. Not a total write-off.
Yeah, I think I might have served you guys up like the worst episode of season 34 today. So sorry about that.
No, that's okay. It's, you know, the list of options these days is quite limiting if you only want to pick the best ones. And yeah, someone else picked a Treehouse of Horror from this season before you, so apologies.
That's fine. Like I told you, I was ready to tear into something because I think I talked about like Romeo and Juliet, and even that episode I was kind of nice to. So I kind of wanted to pick out something that I could just like really tear into today. So
yep, fair.
Actually, yes, that's right. Season 34 is actually ranked as our best season of the 30s so far, but it actually took a hit recently with Mia. We reviewed Hostile Kirk Place, which, shiny failure on that one. And God, what was the other one? It wasn't good.
No, it was better. I don't remember what it was.
It was very memorable.
What was it? Oh, One Angry Lisa, where the episode that's named after Lisa being part of a jury, which makes up all of 3 scenes in the episode. It's mostly about Marge getting a Peloton.
Oh, yeah.
It's a lot of these episodes. Oh, yeah, that happened. All right, well, we're going to move on to our second episode today. This is going to be the one where Larry dies. We're going to review Cremains of the Day. We'll be back. And we are back, and we just pretended to watch Season 35, Episode 15, Cremains of the Day. I mean, pretend to watch just then. We watched it ahead of time.
We totally didn't make a reference to the episode earlier.
This was first released in April of 2024. It was directed by Gabriele DeFrancesco, written by John Frink. In this episode, Larry dies, and at his funeral, the boys from Moe's Tavern agree that they should go take Larry's ashes to the resting place because they didn't think they thought much of them or thought much of anything at all, but turns out he thought they were his best pals. So it's a road trip episode as they go to Serenity Falls, but they discover there's jewels hidden in his ashes, and big conflict over that, and jewel heist, and friendships tested, and we all learn something about ourselves and each other. Hey guys, what do we think? If the noise gate cancelled it out, BT, the subtitles audio descriptive was whatever mumbling.
I will say, what did I think? I will say that I think it starts out really strong and that there's a lot of really interesting and good ideas here. I'm not entirely sold on the execution, especially in the second half, but it's much better than the last episode we just watched.
Oh, yeah. There is argument that like this was an ideal pairing here because like this episode just seems so much better in comparison and will probably do better in the rankings than maybe it would have if we just reviewed it on its own. But man, James, I'm 100% with you there. I think there are actually brilliant ideas going on here.
Yep.
But the execution, like...
weak sauce.
So bad. But, you know, I gave you the list of things to pick from. Why'd this one?
Well, partially I did think that it did pair pretty well with the last one because I guess this week is continuity Simpsons week, I suppose, in terms of like big changes and deaths. But I kind of picked this one just because it's an interesting continuity change with Larry. It does present a lot of big picture questions of... we've always had this guy in the background. He's been there. We've seen him. He's been on the show for 30 years, but we never did get to know this guy. And there are a lot of background characters like this. So it is an interesting question of, like, what value does a Larry have on a show like The Simpsons and to the characters?
So he hasn't been the subject of one of your big deep dives into a character yet?
Nope.
Is there anything to die?
This okay, I'll do The Simpsons histories now. This is Larry.
Yay.
He is a background character on The Simpsons. He died. This is the history of Larry. There, it's done.
Yeah, because I went through the Simpsons Wikia, again, a great resource for our podcast, and I'm sure yours channel as well, James. But yeah, his lines of dialogue that I could find was, from Bart gets hit by a car, he says, a chick. When Marge enters the bar and he's like, oh, a chick. He does some rabbling in Duffless where it's like, oh, hey, everybody, Homer's back. And in El Viaje del Mystery Homer or whatever, the Space Coyote episode.
Oh, yeah.
When it's that big rant of everybody who says what their relationship to Homer is, he's the one that says colleague.
Okay.
Yeah.
Associate.
Yeah. Compadre.
I wish you no specific harm.
Yeah. And the most dialogue he ever got was in Simpsons Tired, and it was within a fantasy of Apu, and he says, this stupid machine took my money.
Oh, yeah. He has kind of like a gruff voice.
Yeah, it's a memory of Apu rather than a fantasy, so he presumably actually did say that.
But I think that's actually the more inspired idea of this episode. Okay, take a background character. This is a blank canvas we can work with. Like, I don't know what the hot takes were. I try not to read them, but yeah, who really cared if Larry died? And I'm sure The Simpsons, to a certain degree, went with we're going to kill off someone this way. Who could it be? Like, they've played that before, but
I think in my memory they did do that. I'm pretty sure Matt Selman spoofed on like when Rabbi Krostovsky died, when they made a big show of that. I think Matt Selman made a graphic showing like all these famous characters, and then he put Larry on there and was like, who's gonna die? So I'm pretty sure they did make fun of it.
That's pretty funny.
Yeah, look, and I mean, Simpsons do these sort of stunts to, get social media buzz around the show, and it's for a character like Larry, I don't find that an egregious or an offensive thing to do as a fan. It's just like, because he is such a blank slate of a character, you can do so much with him, and that's actually the thing that I think is inspired about this one.
Yeah,
to have this big implied hidden life.
Yeah, I think that's the thing, because, in life as well as in the show, there's always people who are just kind of there, and you may not have a relationship with, but you also don't know what they think of you or how they perceive what's going on to them. There's something interesting about that. It's not really done in this one. It's close. It circles the idea a little bit, but I don't think they really get to the heart of it at all.
Does it ever? It circles so many good things, but yeah, let's hook into this one. James, we'll start out with you. What stands out to you from this episode for better or worse?
I guess I'll say that I really enjoy the song Eleanor Rigby. What do you guys think?
I enjoy that song.
That's my favorite Beatles song, and
really?
Wow. And I do not like the parody.
See, I will say, like, when I was watching that segment, I do like the graphics. Like, I do think it was like beautifully animated, like with that kind of Beatles. What is the name of that style? Like that kind of like drawing cartoon style, is like that British Monty Python kind of style.
My art vocabulary is not good enough to know what that's called.
Yeah, no, that's a good shout with like those sort of crisscross lines to do shading sort of style.
Yeah.
Cross-hatching.
So visually it was beautiful, and I guess I'm not going to ding them too much on the song, because it's Eleanor Rigby. We all know Eleanor Rigby, and they have to legally change it somehow, and I don't envy them having to try to get it to work. So I'll agree that it's stilted. I guess it could be better, but it's a pretty difficult task what they ordered up. So I like this. I like the sequence pretty well, but it is a little strange, I'll say.
It's a nice sequence visually, and I'll take the parody even though I don't like it. Mechanically, it's fine. I think the problem there is they're trying to make a big deal out of a character, whereas the episode kind of hinges on, there are people in your life who don't seem like a big deal, but you don't know what their perception of you is, or you're still going to miss them when they're gone because they're a part of your world, even if you're unaware of it. So I think giving him all this kind of sad backstory is trying to force an emotion that we've never had before into a character that they've never paid attention to before.
And I guess I'm going to ask you this question, and maybe I'm showing how much I didn't get this episode, but is that Eleanor Rigby sequence real, though, in the sense that, like, at the end of the episode, like, they reveal that he did, like, really like the crew of guys, and even though they weren't close, like, that they were buddies from his point of view. So from Larry's point of view, was he that lonely? Because the ending suggests that he wasn't, and that they were projecting those feelings on him.
Yeah, that's a solid point. Again, this is going to be an episode that's going to be difficult to talk about without constantly saying what I'd change about it, because, you're right. If the episode does suggest that he thought this was a bigger relationship than it was, then why is he one of the lonely barflies? And again, fucking weak-ass lyrics here, all the lonely Larrys. It's just... Man, because I agree with you fully, James. It's just like, it looks so good, but the song parody, the lyrics are pretty weak. I like the idea of all the lonely barflies, but again, if you got to go to this effort to not have it be Eleanor Rigby, then do something else. Because again, circling good ideas in future, like they use these violin stings as part of the music and the soundtrack to this episode, and I think that's a good way to constantly remind of Larry in this episode and give it its own little flavor. But because it's coming back to this parody and it was very weak in the first place, like, it reeks of, you should have done something else. All the lonely barflies is not that great of a lyric substitution that you need to be like, oh no, we need to make this work hell or high water.
I like, though, that at least it's very evocative in terms of the mood, I'll say. Like, if you're doing this story about death, an Eleanor Rigby parody is the way you'd want to go in terms of establishing, like, the vibe of the episode.
I guess the original original, it does have those allusions to burials and graves and funerals and such.
Where
So
do all the lonely people belong?
in a jar with gems, apparently.
Yeah, in a jar with gems.
Did you say Jims? No, just kidding.
There's a free idea for someone out there on YouTube to do a parody of your channel, TheRealJims, and they do, deep dive histories into, sapphires and rubies and such.
Fascinating.
What kind of videos would that be? It's like how to cut... Actually, no, never mind. That's stupid. Like, there are niche YouTube channels about everything. Yeah. They could totally do that.
Exactly. BT, what stands out to you for better or worse?
Look, both my standouts are minor gripes, and I don't know if I want to bring that energy to this. Do I? Sure.
Do it.
Let's
Why not? Go for it.
Look, because we came off one that was very much, please remember the Simpsons history, but also don't remember the Simpsons history. My first kind of gripe was all about the Simpsons history, where they're, watching a football game at Moe's, and it's like 6 a.m. because it's in England for some reason. That's probably a thing about football. I don't know.
It is. It's definitely a thing.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about this, Jim, because there is just a run of dialogue here where it's just like, oh, I guess you have to know about the English-American football games that happen, because there just seem to be so many observations. How did this land with you?
Actually, now that I think about it, I think this episode suggests that the Springfield is in the West Coast, because I'm pretty sure those British football games start around 9 a.m. on the East Coast. And whereas I think they said it was 6 a.m., so I think this is a California episode.
There we go. Interesting. I mean, and California is a weed state, so Simpsons in California, confirmed.
Sure. I mean, let's just be frank. The Simpsons have been in Los Angeles for so long now, because that's where the writers are from.
Yeah.
But the thing I wanted to gripe out is there's this whole bit where Moe's they're like, oh, Moe, you should place a bet. And he's like, oh, I don't really bet. And I just kind of paused and went, Moe is taking bets for the Super Bowl and Lisa the Greek. Moe bets on the monkey knife fight on the Manson family, and he placed bets on Pee Wee hockey on Lisa on ice. Those were the lines I could remember off the top of my dome. Fuck you.
All right, let's have a nerd fight right now, though, because one, he was taking the bets in that one episode, so he was not doing the betting. So he was just.
But he was also losing the money because he calls Homer names.
Oh yeah, that's true. Okay,
I had that exact same run of thoughts.
Okay, okay, you win that point. Number two, the monkey fighting. I don't know, monkey fighting is a totally different sport than football.
But he's still. Well, to be fair, I can't remember if he's betting. I think he has money in his hand when he's watching it, but I'm not entirely sure.
There's a circle on that boat or whatever. Yeah, I think he's there.
Yeah, I can take it. He's definitely the one who says jab, parry, stab, stab. Oh, he ain't pretty no more.
Yeah, and then number three, youth hockey. It's what else are you gonna do when watching youth hockey?
But Marge, they're gonna take my thumbs. But he's definitely betting is the point, and betting in deep. I can't remember. He says a number, but he's 10K in the hole. I can't remember. But yeah.
Well, and as we do on Simpsons Continuity Week, we ask, okay, you're doing a light bit of retconning here. Was it worth it? And I look at this scene and go, no, because this whole animation sequence I found annoying, overly long, stupid, no good visual gags in the whole thing.
Yeah, it was very long. I like the frame where he keeps taking cigarettes out of the packet and just eating them.
Okay, yeah, I'll give it.
I got a little chuckle on that.
I'm gonna stand up for it though. I love seeing Moe do the worm. I think it's a hilarious visual of him doing it, and he does it so many times. I don't know. I think the sequence kind of worked for me, to be honest, just because of how funny Moe was. He was very animated, and I'll give him that.
Oh yeah, welcome. I'm happy to have it in or whatever. I was sitting there going, well, do I want this to be a major episode plot point? We get into Moe's secret gambling or newfound gambling addiction. I'm like, yep, sure, fine. I don't, I'm not gonna be too much of a stickler on that if that's where we're going.
Yeah, I can take that the montage might hit different people differently, and that's just my opinion, but then okay, are you justifying it for story reasons? And not really. It's not about that.
Yeah, it's just about they're spending a lot of time in the bar.
We're setting up that Larry's dead and he's kicking. There's
fine.
So many other ways to do this.
Oh, wait a minute though, but it does establish that Moe is greedy and likes money, which comes up later.
Yeah, true.
Although I guess you could establish that at any point because he's Moe, but I guess it does kind of lead into the jewels.
Yeah, I'm not going to let it change my perception of the episode. It's just one of those things. I was coming off the last one, excuse me. Actually. And the other one was just one that just hit me weird where so the family goes to Larry's funeral and Bart and Lisa hey, you want to go crash funerals? And Lisa goes, oh, well, I'm already in a dress. And I'm like, Lisa, you're always in a dress. You're in a black dress. I feel like that should have been, I'm already wearing black, should have been the line instead.
Man,
but,
it's an overly used joke these days of, oh, that feels like it was written by AI. But, like, that feels like it was written by AI. That was like, that wasn't a joke. It's like, that's just nothing. And then especially with the follow-up of Bart, like, hanging off the coffin and being like, hey, look, I'm bearing Paul. And I'm like, I don't think that's a joke. Like,
well, a pallbearer is a
no,
thing.
I get that, but it's like,
Okay.
he's not bearing it. He's hanging from the coffin. Like,
Yeah.
what does that mean? You're bearing Paul? Like, I get you doing the flip on pallbearer, but that doesn't make sense to me.
Yeah.
I thought for a second that it was a Beatles reference with the I buried Paul thing. I guess I have Beatles on the brain after that parody.
That's fair. And that was the things that stood out to me, Elliot. I know they were petty and minor, but those were the things yesterday me put the little star next to talk about, so here we are.
Yep. And what I'm going to say stood out to me, for better or worse, is just the general note that I think the best idea that this episode had was that Larry was working for smuggling jewels for a criminal organization. I feel like that is just a really inspired idea to be like, okay, this is why he doesn't talk that much about his personal life to these people. This is why he's like seeking refuge in a bar night after night after night. And maybe can be an explanation. Maybe he's making good money from this smuggling, but yeah, he just spends it all at Moe's bar to deal with the life that he finds himself in. And I think especially because, one guest star of this episode, Joe Mantegna, returning as Fat Tony. And I even like the idea of the character with the really obvious name of Mickey No Loose Ends. And that, Larry has been working with this guy for decades and he can't get out or whatever. Like, I think there is a really inspired story that they are circling, but they never dig enough hard into.
Like, okay, how about, skipping ahead to what we would change? What if we, because part of my problem with this episode is why they go on this road trip. There's this whole thing where they find out Larry thought they were better friends than they really were, and find this drawing that's like, and Carl's like, oh, that's such and such falls. We should drive out there. And just feels very weakly tacked on because they don't really have a reason to be doing this. What if instead there's a bit in Larry's will where he's like, hey guys, I know we never talk much, but you were the best part of my day. I'd really be honored if you took my ashes to, such and such. But the reason he wrote that letter is so he could make that one last gem delivery heist thing, that one last tie-up of his whatever contract criminal life he's in.
See, now I kind of do get the road trip idea. Like, I think the idea to go to those falls specifically is very tenuous, and Carl, you are wrong. But I do kind of like the idea of, like one of my favorite little things about it, rewatching it, was how Lenny was written in this episode. Like, I vibe with Lenny so hard in this episode because at the beginning, Marge kind of just out of the blue says she's most disappointed in Lenny. And he really takes it hard in this episode where you can tell, like, after that point, he's like, I'm really going to prove that he meant something to me, and he's like gets really like in love with like Larry's urn. So I do kind of get psychologically, especially with like Lenny kind of pushing them, like the idea of like, well, we've been called out, we're gonna go on this road trip to prove you wrong or to like figure this out in a way. So I guess I kind of get that just because Lenny kind of pushed it in that direction.
No, and I think, again, with character moments, like, I fully agree with you when they start, like, discussing their philosophies of what happens after death, I think that actually plays really well into the characters of this episode. And, again, one of the more inspired ideas that this episode is circling, and maybe it doesn't need to be elevated beyond this level of kind of subtext in that this is finally these guys having a real conversation when they're sober versus how they act in a bar, and where they discover, oh my God, we are wildly different people. And like, so yeah, there's a part of me that maybe wants them to surface that a bit more, but also like, I do criticize The Simpsons a lot of over explaining shit these days, so maybe it delves into that territory. But yeah, the idea that Lenny gets, I'm with you there, James. It's actually quite inspired.
Yeah, and I don't know, I don't know why on the rewatch the Lenny thing hit me hard, just because like Lenny is kind of the most random character of the four in a way. Like Carl is more defined than Lenny in my opinion. So the fact that Lenny like takes it on his mantle that I'm going to really respect Larry, this other character I mean, we care about Lenny, but we don't give a shit about Larry. So it's kind of an offbeat choice for Lenny to really like carry the flag here.
Man, that's an interesting bit of parallel where Lenny goes, like maybe this is stemming from a bit of insecurity where he's like, I feel like I'm the background character in other people's lives sometimes. Like, it's like, again, not something maybe you want to point to directly, but yeah, I like that implication. Yeah.
Yeah, you really got subconscious on that one with Lenny. I think we're starting to figure out Lenny, aren't we?
Yeah, well, because like he is a relatively blank slate of a character. That's why the line "not Lenny" lands so well. It's, why do the kids give a shit about him? Like he's exactly that kind of character. And yeah, similarly with Larry here, where you do have a blank slate to work with, and yeah, it all kind of makes sense in this way. Yeah. Yeah, how about the wackiness of this episode? Was this a particularly wacky episode of The Simpsons?
We do start with I did like the rat on top of Moe's just crowing like a chicken in the morning.
That was really good. Yeah, I enjoyed the rat. And yeah, another beautiful Simpsons sunrise. Like they're good at their sky animations.
We did have some wackiness in terms of their like fantasy sequences when describing the cosmic energy and the ghosts and I guess Moe's void. And the Christian version.
I did kind of like, but also find weird Lenny's explanation of, no, your ghost floats around, blowing out birthday candles and helping figure skaters land and cooling down soup. I was like, okay. I mean, I don't dislike it. I'm confused. But
yeah, but it's taking the comedy rule of threes and not having a joke there. Or like maybe the joke is the silliness of the situation, but yeah, I didn't find it funny or entertaining.
Yeah, if he was like, ghosts are all around helping us. It's why I always shower in my shorts. Or something.
I wonder if Lenny thought that like Larry's like ghost was around them while like the whole time with like the ashes and everything. I wonder if that was factoring into it too.
Yeah, I mean, he does talk about, let's take the scenic route. I thought Larry would like it. Or, he does, I think he talks to the urn a couple of times as well. So I think he does present the idea that, Larry's ghost is following the ashes.
I mean, it's a good bit of the idea of like now he's overcompensating because... Yeah, he didn't give enough of a shit while Larry was alive that, he's feeling the need to overcorrect in this way and, like, be really apologetic and protective of the urn. Like, again, they don't hit into it enough, but there's the idea there.
My other bit of whack is just when they fire off the flare gun, it actually moves the car. I'm like, that's not enough force.
The car only weighs like 50 pounds.
Yeah, it's an electric vehicle. Like, I gotta say, I enjoyed this whole sequence quite a bit. Like, yeah, maybe you're right about the flare gun, Peter, but as a way for them to...
I'm not going to sit here and say it ruins the episode or anything. I'm just going to say that's wacky. Wacky can be good and fun and funny and cartoony. That's the point of it. I'm just pulling it up.
Oh, but just as in a way of like, they're going to get out of this situation. Oh, they've fucked themselves even harder. Yeah. And even later when the car explodes and they're like, oh wow, these electric cars even explode quiet. Like,
I did like
that's
that.
even explaining the joke where I'm like, I'm okay, I'm on board with that.
Yeah, I think in mentioning the jokes, I think the jokes in general are so much better in this episode than the last one. Like, there's still some explainy bits and some Family Guy cutaway stuff. Like we mentioned the Barney Well joke. I will comment again. I think that joke is great. But I do think just looking at the quality of the joke writing from episode to episode, this one is so much stronger than the last one.
Yeah, it was an interesting thing where they were like, Barney's not even here. He's doing something. And he's getting water for... It was a Spanish-speaking village, but the flag wasn't Spanish. Anyway, but it is from this scene that I now know that burp in Spanish is Uraktar.
Uraktar.
Take that, Duolingo. Simpsons is teaching me Spanish now.
Duolingo doesn't matter anymore.
No, it does not. Only Simpsons matters.
Didn't they kill the owl? Or they bring it back? I can't remember.
They replaced him and all their staff with AI, so we hate them now.
Cool.
Yeah. The other wacky bit was at one point, Lenny goes, we're going to take the scenic route. And that causes a whole big Carl grabbing the wheel and sending the car careening and everything. Again, this is a part of the episode that I didn't really vibe with the whole, like, Homer discovers the gems and then Moe discovers that too and then hatches the secret plan to keep it from the guys, And then to have it revealed so soon after... what do you guys think? I didn't vibe with this.
I see what they're doing. I don't think it quite lands the way they want it to. And I also just kind of feel like, these people are terrible friends. We don't get to the end of feeling all, no, they'll be all right. It's like, you were in a situation where if one of you saved themselves, the others would die. but you're still screwing each other over pretty regularly. It's not life and death, but it's still, you clearly don't care about each other's well-being.
Yeah, it felt very, like, it reminded me a lot of the saga of Carl when they go on that trip, when Carl steals the lotto money, and then they have it out in Iceland, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, it reminded me a lot of that in terms of, like, the group dynamic of, are we actually friends? Like, that one was much more laser focused on the are we friends with Carl, you know?
Yeah.
Whereas this one was definitely juggling the Larry angle as well. But yeah, the gems did remind me a lot of that dynamic. And I think it was better executed in that episode, because this one, like, my only thing with the gems is that, like, how does the whole gems plot inform the Larry plot in terms of, like, that whole theme of knowing Larry? Because there's definitely a theme about our friendship and do we know each other and, like, the tightness of our group, but does that really inform the Larry plot?
No, not really.
No, like, I like it functionality wise because it implies, he's got this whole other life that he kept hidden from them, but it really could have been anything. And yeah, like you were saying before, BT, the idea that, Larry needed these people to make his last shipment, again, it could have been a lot of things. Like, it didn't have to be gems. And, like, for Mo to get all fucking Gollum and Smeagol about them, like, I don't know, it just didn't track with me. I know it's Skeezy Mo and everything, but... this whole, like, selling Homer out and saying, oh, it was his idea to keep it from you guys and all that, like, none of this played with me. Like,
oh, here's a question. Like, by the way, like, so Homer goes to the bathroom first, and then, like, Mo just comes into there right after him. So I was wondering, is Mo and Homer, like, comfortable enough with each other, whereas they're like bathroom buddies, you know, where he'll shower while he's using the bathroom and stuff? Like,
I'd say so. Homer's at that bar enough, and, like,
because Mo just walks in there right after him. I was like, okay, you guys do you. I'm locking that door.
No, I think all these men have probably pissed in front of each other enough that there's an implied it's okay.
Okay.
Yeah, it could have been done with a line of like, hey, Homer, I know you're using the bathroom. I'm just going to piss in the shower.
Yeah, but that's a bit of character integrity stuff, but we'll get to that when we talk about the heart first. How did the emotions land with you? Sorry, I got a little distracted in that the cat wandered by my window. My neighbor's cat, Yoda, has been visiting me a lot lately, and it's just gotten brave enough that it just wanders into my house sometimes, like if I leave the door open. Like,
and then all of a sudden you have cat.
Yeah, but...
Yoda. Good name.
Good name.
Yeah,
Not a green cat, but whatever. Sorry, BT. Enough cat
I'd be
talk.
worried if it was a green cat.
Yeah.
Like, the one real note of, like, almost, the heartbreak kind of heart, which, take out the bar and what are we together? What holds us together? Nothing. It's like, okay, that's a good exposing line, but... And, even the whole road trip circles the idea of heart, but I don't think really lands it. Or even them discussing their difference of opinions of what happens in the afterlife is interesting, but none of it fully seems to click.
I think there's some warm fuzzies in terms of, like, how Larry's mom was at the funeral, in terms of, like, she really, like, set them up for an awkward moment, but it was kind of sweet that this guy that we, the audience, don't know, that his mom was so warm about him and warm about her perceived relationship with them. So that, I thought that moment was really sweet.
Yeah, well, again, it feels like it's circling a good idea of, like, that she didn't know either, and maybe she had a distant relationship with him and, like, is just holding on to what little threads he'd give. Like, oh, he loved fishing. And then I did think there was a certain sweetness to the boys, like, all scrambling together like they hadn't done their, like, presentation homework or something, and they really had, like, throwing together a book report just from looking at the cover energy.
Remember when he caught that fish? Ooh, and who caught the biggest fish? Larry.
Old big fish Larry, that's what they call him.
I took from that, like, because she says something like, oh, it's the guys from Moe's. Larry always talked about you. So the kind of idea that the only person he does actually talk to is his mum, and is just regales stories from Moe's like he was, involved rather than just observing.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, and she did kind of, like, tee up the ending of the episode too, because she does just kind of tell us that, like, oh, you guys meant a lot to Larry, and then we watch the rest of the episode through their POV where they don't feel the same way. So then when we come around to the end of the episode where he wants his ashes at the bar, like that does circle around pretty nicely because she does set us up for it in the first act.
Yeah, and I will say that is one thing I like about the whole, oh, that's Serenity Falls. Wait, no, it isn't. This is a different, like, I actually really love the sweetness of that misdirect that he drew, like, a waterfall scene, but it was just part of this Duff Beer neon sign, which I don't think I'd seen one of these in the person, but I looked it up afterwards, like, the lights making a flowing water effect. It's like, it was nice. Yeah, I'd like my ashes below one of those.
I forget, was that in the Act 1, like when they showed Moe's Bar? Was that actually there? I forgot to look for it.
Yeah, I don't remember. We'll give benefit of the doubt and say yes.
But, I mean, just, like, even if it wasn't, just Homer going, oh my god, I know where that is, and then just the immediacy of them being back in the bar in front of this sign, like, I feel like that sweet moment, that really did actually land with me. And that feels like, again, for a story, that was coming around full circle. We're back at the bar. We tried to do this elaborate trip where, oh no, he wanted to be here.
Yeah, that is kind of weird, though, if you think about that. Carl is like, oh, it's those waterfalls. And then they do all that traveling, and they get there, and he's like, that's not the same waterfall at all. And I was like, Carl, you idiot. Like it was kind of a Shaggy Dog story.
Yeah, no, nobody Googled this.
No, it's clunky. And the way you were outlining before, BT, with it should be something about them trying to make this last shipment for him, that's sort of more functional story. But yeah, I think the heart moment landed enough for me that I was like,
I
forgot the clunkiness of that story before now.
I can take the sentimentality over the functionality, sure.
Yeah. But ultimately, did this feel like an episode of The Simpsons? These are characters we know and love. Is this the show we know and love?
Non-committed sounds.
I would say so. Like, I'll stand up for this one just because, like, I feel like we did get the core bar crew. Like, this is a Moe's Bar episode, and I do feel like the core four were really well represented, and it did explore. Like, I think the rest of the family, supported the story well. So I think it did feel like a Simpsons episode to me, even though it explored Larry, who we don't care about.
Yeah, the rest of the family. So, like, are Bart and Lisa only really in their little funeral crash?
Yeah, so that was probably there for contractual obligations.
Yeah. I go back and forth on the sea captain funeral bit. I don't know whether or not I like that. What do you guys think?
It was okay. I think the Quimby part was a little funnier, but none of that stuff was that amazing, I thought.
Yeah, where 92-year-old relative died of natural causes, and then Robert F. Quimby stands up and goes, no.
Robert F. Quimby Jr.
Oh, yeah, of course. And they're like, you're an embarrassment to the family. And it's like, oh my God, this came out in 2024.
That guy, hey, you guys, you know, that guy in The Simpsons, he's responsible for my healthcare right now. Isn't that interesting? Aren't you guys lucky you live in Australia?
Oh, yeah. And not to brag, but we just had an amazing election result. And it's mostly because the other guy was like trying the Trump playbook, but he's so uncharismatic and so unlikable, even by the other
even
side.
By Trump standards.
Yeah.
You guys have an Aussie Trump? Wow.
His nickname in the press was literally Timu Trump. Like, and he looks like a potato. Like,
yeah, I think he looks like an infected toe, but let's move on.
He looks like a Simpsons character with fingernails.
But put it this way, his campaign slogan was, let's get Australia back on track.
Yeah.
It's like, we can see what you're doing, you know.
Okay.
Yeah.
But yeah, that joke was good, I guess.
Yeah. But yeah, in terms of integrity as well, like, yeah, again, we're filling out the barflies a bit more because of this story. And I think the Saga of Carl is a good comparison because I think this version of Carl also kind of plays into that one where he has this air of like, I'm actually too good for you people, and I'm just
definitely
hanging out here with somewhere to drink. And like countering what I was saying about Mo earlier, because I feel like, I don't know, is he off character or are they just leaning into the more deplorable parts of his personality? Because he just feels off to me here.
Yeah, there is the Mo that schemes, but this feels a different version of scheming. I can't quite put a finger on it. It's hard to really say.
It's like the manipulation of the friends is really bothering me. Like, I feel like Mo would do a lot for a quick buck, but like, manipulating his friends like this. Well, not even his friends, his customers, like, and playing them off each other and saying, "Oh, it was Homer's idea." It doesn't play with me.
I think the big difference is, yes, I do agree he would, say, hey, we just because you found the gems and we both know about it doesn't mean we have to get those other guys involved. So that way we split it 50-50, not 25% each. That's fine. But I think it's, when they do find out and he tries to throw Homer under the bus, I think that doesn't work, which is, I know, it seems like that's the lesser of two evils, but still.
Yeah, I think that's a good point because Mo, when Mo's in his friend group, there's bartender business mode and there's friend mode. And friend mode Mo is a little softer and less manipulative, when he's hanging out. Whereas this episode, he was much more in business mode. I'm going to backstab you right away. And it was a little jarring. That's a good one.
And even if it was justified in story of do you know the damage you people have caused to my bar over the years?
Yeah.
I deserve this money. Just say maybe the only person who didn't, have pool cue fights was Larry. But also, we've set up earlier in the episode that Mo was having this sort of fun with anyway. Getting into the minutia, but yes or no, would you watch this episode again?
Not really. Maybe to confirm some of the stuff, or maybe to give it another try. To see if that waterfall is in the background or not.
Yeah, it's got to get that. I think I'd watch this one again. I have my issues with it, but I think it's solid enough overall.
Yeah, honestly, don't do this much anymore. But to bring back the playlist question, I feel like there's a good run with this and Saga of Carl to explore, as these do feel like two sides of the same modern Simpsons coin, where enjoyable enough episodes that kind of fill out these character details in a way I like. But also. This falls into I'd like to revisit this as a writing exercise episode because I feel like there's so many improvements you could make, and let's explore them right now. BT, what would you like to change?
I honestly think cut the gems stuff. I feel like that's the biggest turning point, and while it does heighten the drama, I feel like if you want to focus on this whole, what are the smaller people, the background people in your life mean to you, is Lenny trying to compensate because he feels guilty and trying to put all this emphasis on getting Larry's ashes and taking the scenic route and whatever, but ignoring his current, his living friend's request, no, we have to get home. I've got a date or whatever.
Yeah.
There's enough to explore there without getting into this jewel heist thing. So I kind of want to see a version where we just focus on the trip and not jump into this extra thing. Either that or flip it. And the whole reason they're going is because Larry needs someone to make this last delivery for him, or that the mob will come after his mum or something like that. It's wild, but hey, it's a plot.
Yeah, what do you reckon, James?
I love that idea, actually. The factored into more of the journey with the gems of that last work or whatever. Because I think that there is something that doesn't quite mismatch in terms of you have the Larry theme with the we didn't know him, and then you have the theme about them coming together as friends. Do we really know each other? That stuff. The two don't really vibe that well together, the two themes. And I do think if instead of being more of a group conflict story, if they did find the gems and they're like, oh my god, we didn't know this guy at all, and what was he up to, and let's do this last thing for him, that could weave in better in terms of keeping the focus on the Larry Barfly's relationship instead of it becoming a internal kind of feud. So I was actually wondering how I would fix the episode, and I love that idea. I say they do that. Oh, and one other thing, they need Sam.
Yeah.
The fact that they did the Larry death episode and they didn't even once mention that there is another random ass barfly named Sam in there, and they didn't address it. They didn't do any kind of thing of maybe we should be nice to this guy, they total Sam erasure. They should fix that too.
Sam's the guy with the glasses who often has the hat,
like the trucker hat.
Yeah.
Who I thought for the longest time was just Charlie from the nuclear power plant, but he wears a hat when he's at Moe's because they look kind of similar like that. But it wasn't until I realized, if you look on the wall of Mount Lushmore, and then his name's Sam. Oh, I thought that was Charlie. That's a different person. There we go.
I'm pretty sure he says, whew, what a gambler.
That's the only line I can think of.
Yeah. And bringing up Mount Lushmore, that was with the art. That was actually something that I wish was part of the episode, is that, and it's bit of like, oh, he was doing in the background this whole time. We didn't notice that maybe he was a good artist and like he did just like to draw what he sees. And I would have actually liked if like it was even revealed that he did the Mount Lushmore pictures or something like that, just to tie it in somewhat and
fleshes things out a bit.
And like, yeah, these guys are struggling for memories about this guy, but he'd been drawing them the whole time and is like, oh my God, I don't even remember this night at the bar where we were doing piggyback pool cue fights and all that sort of stuff. And like, just to play on the idea of like, there's been this history building up the whole time, but yeah, you guys didn't remember or acknowledge it because, yeah, you were wasted the whole time. And to play into this part of the episode, which I enjoy, is the idea that these guys don't get along that well when they're sober, and when they're having deep philosophical life conversations, they do realize how different they are. And not for them to, I don't know, realize that they actually hate each other, nothing like that, but just to just solidify like what they're doing here and just give them a new perspective. Oh, this was what Larry found value in it, and we just kept forgetting these memories. And like, it's maybe even a bit heavy-handed for a Simpsons episode or whatever, but I'm saying these are the ideas that they were circling that I like.
Yeah.
And yeah, I do like the idea of a road trip. It doesn't need to be the gems. It can be other things. And I mentioned it before. I like the ideas that Larry was private about his work life because it was criminal in nature, and maybe he was stuck in the life or something. And you can have Fat Tony in this episode a lot more, which I think he should, because like, I think it's almost a shame that, yeah, he's not a part of this plot at all.
Yeah.
Like, they do overuse the mob a bit these days, but the idea that Larry was in his employ and no one knew, I think is an interesting character detail. There's just so many ideas that I feel like they're circling here that they don't capitalize on.
I think there is something to, like, I do think you need some kind of adventure element in this episode, even if because the danger with the story is that it could become too much of a dirge or a drag or whatever, that it's like so death oriented. So I do think, they had the right instinct to have some kind of adventure wacky plot, because you gotta have that contrast here.
Well, I just had the idea that'll help tie some of these strings together in the episode that we actually do have. So have Larry's mother at the funeral say, when she mentions fishing, he would always take trips up to Lake whatever. And so when they see the picture, they're like, oh, that must be the lake he always went to. Let's go there.
That's perfect.
But then they find out, he wasn't going fishing. He was crossing the border to make these, gem runs or whatever.
God, so, BT, you should just rewrite this whole episode. Like, you're just spinning gold today.
Thank you.
Rewrite this whole series while you're at it.
Just rewrite the whole episode, BT.
Yeah.
I'll do it for money.
You've heard it first here, Simpsons.
Because I think
he has a price, and it's money.
Oh yeah, I do love that money. That's what I think bugs me about this one, is it constantly circles good ideas but never seems to stick to any of them, and I find that frustrating.
No, that's it. And like, I feel like the road trip especially, just some bad gags just get in the way of having a good time. Like, the whole fucking cooling the gang thing is just exhausting and stupid.
There's a bit, because, Carl talks about how his girlfriend hooked up with Cool back in the day, and she's going to go see the gig, but I'm not nervous at all. And then they're like, well, why don't we play the radio now? And it's like, it's going to be cool in the gang, isn't it? You can just get that. You can just play.
Hey, that song is a bop.
It's a bop, but
it's just, you see the bit coming from 1,000 miles away, and you're like, I know what you're gonna do,
John Frank.
Yeah, they definitely served that up.
But then, it being the reason that they Carl grabs the wheel and veers him back on course. It's so weak. But it's time for our final notes. James, have you got any final notes about this episode you want to mention before we move on to the rankings?
So, how do you guys feel about the term frunk?
I wish they just left it. I really hated that Homer goes, oh, I get it, funk chunk. It's just like, oh no, just call it a frunk, and then have me go, why do you say that? That's weird. Let me put it together.
Exactly the same. Yeah, you do put it together, and you're like, okay. And then it's like, just in case you're all too fucking stupid, we're going to tell you.
Yeah, thanks for bringing that up. We clearly had that one locked and loaded.
I kind of struggle with that one because it's such a weird word that you do kind of want to explain it, but like, I do think just because maybe was it not visually easy? Like, did they not indicate it visually enough that they're going through the front? I feel like they did and didn't have to explain it. But I guess to read it charitably, they didn't. Like, it was kind of a weird concept. So
Yeah.
it's not great, but I'm okay with it, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, even if he'd pointed, like, even if they'd labored it a bit and pointed the gun at him and be like, get in, like, they moved to the back of the car. It's like, no, in the frunk or something like that.
There we go.
Oh, yeah. God, BT.
God damn, yeah.
You just got this
that's great.
episode. It's such a cheesy joke, but I kind of like the follow-up joke with the Bruno wife banger, take my wife from the airport. Like, that's pretty
I
good.
really got to pay attention to these guys' nicknames.
Yeah. Like you see it a mile coming, but it's like such a corny kind of dad joke. It works so well.
Yeah, I enjoyed it too.
Okay, and here's my final note. And BT, I need you to fix this part of the plot too, because I don't know how you're gonna fix this.
Okay,
but
pressure.
how on earth did they like cremate this guy and do all the funeral stuff, and nobody ever found the sapphires?
Yeah.
Look, I don't know how cremation works, and neither do any of us, so I could believe that Springfield especially just has the laziest crematorium who are like, throw them in, set it on fire, it's fine.
A blind crematorium worker.
Yeah, it's just like, hey, this one's rattling. Yeah, I don't give a shit.
Okay, see, BT, I
It's
knew
lunchtime.
it. You just like completely swept everything. Like, I'll even accept that explanation.
All right. I mean, if we want to workshop further, I'm happy to riff on that.
No, I think you could do that like in one cutaway joke, and I would buy it. Sure.
No, dedefinitely. How about you, BT? Any other notes?
So I'm just thinking about the coroner now being like, I mean, there's sapphires, but they're in his butt. I don't want them.
I like that there's a coroner who's like squeamish around human bodies.
Ew, 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 ew.
The worst part's almost over.
Take out his liver. Ew. Ugh. All right. Look, it starts with Homer being, they're watching the football game in London, like, I bet £100. I have no idea how much that is. Like,
Yeah, I like that.
Similarly, I like Moe's, he bets $1. He's like, look, to you, it's just $1. To me, it's a whole simoleon.
Yeah. I do like in that rant as well, he goes, oh, damn you, Baltimore, you crab-infested Edgar Allan Poe munchers. Like, shout out to all our friends from Baltimore.
This episode is not shown in Baltimore.
No.
Hey, you're talking about crabs over here. That's how Baltimore people talk, I assume. Anyway.
That's kind of close.
Look, just when they're at the funeral, they're like, Larry was around.
Yeah.
And like, yep, that's fair. A bit I didn't like was Reverend Lovejoy gets up and goes, whose funeral is this? And the woman playing the organ is like, it's a sad, balding drunk who hung out at Moe's. He's like, oh, Homer Simpson died. It's like, this just so labored and so boring.
Yeah, and like Homer's across the room from him too. Like he can see him.
Yeah. Yeah.
No, this is a worse version of the Bleeding Gums Murphy, like, sousaphone funeral riff, like... And
Yeah.
I feel like, again, better story beat is to have a decent eulogy here, like, and elaborate and like, Larry wanted to have it said, all these things. Like, I think the better joke here would have been to not do the Reverend Lovejoy apathetic mode.
Yep. There's a line where they're like, Moe says, I like the Sex and the City girls, only super gross. Like, all right,
That was a good one.
Yeah, and my last note is, but Larry was a drunk and we were social drinkers who also drink alone.
Yeah.
We're two different worlds.
That's decent. Joke I didn't like when Homer and Moe were in the bathroom and Moe goes, all I've got is a bar filled with toxic black mold. And Homer goes, what? And then
Cuffs, yeah.
It's so on the nose.
Good old brain damage jokes.
Yeah. Oh, it is fully one of those. A joke that, like, I only like because of the real world thing of it, where Homer goes, because it's this scene in the frunk, sorry, excuse me. This
frunk,
idea
hard to
that I do
say.
like, where in this moment of peril that they're finally seeing each other's perspectives. I think that's a good thing. Oh no, I can find some comfort in the way you think about life, and maybe that void won't be so bad, all that sort of stuff. And then Homer just going with the reincarnation thing. Oh, and I'm just going to be reincarnated as one of these koalas with STDs. And I like how the thing with, because us Australians, like, we constantly have to go to people, it's not koala bear, they aren't bears, they're just koalas. But now it doesn't seem like people do that anymore. Like,
true.
we've all gotten on board that that's not the nomenclature, but everyone knows now that koalas have chlamydia. Like,
Yeah.
it's just,
People never knows two facts about koalas. They're not bears and they have chlamydia.
yeah, I think Russell Crowe and John Oliver might have been a huge reason for that, where they had their fun little ribbing where I feel like Russell Crowe won by donating and naming an entire koala chlamydia treatment wing after John Oliver.
That is funny.
Yeah, that's one where celebrity feuds get to be fun. And
yeah, when you end up funding an entire treatment center, that's a good feud.
yeah, I fucking got you, John Oliver. Koalas are going to be treated now in your name.
Yeah, so if, Drake wants to get back in the good books, he could name a children's hospital after...
he probably doesn't want that association.
True, I forgot about that aspect, but you get what I'm coming from.
If you donate to a hospital, probably for a minor.
Correct. Makes the, Kendrick Lamar Sucks Museum.
Yeah.
Not museum, that's a bad thing. You know what I mean, that's the charitable thing. Fuck off. The home for aging podcasters, that's what we need.
Oh, God. I actually liked the joke where, again, they realize that they all need to jump out of the frunk at the same time, because if one goes, the rest of them will. And they do we'll go on 3, 1, 2, 3, and Homer's still in there. I liked that whole little thing where it's like, you're meant to go and go. No, you go on 3. I agree to disagree. I enjoyed that.
I totally thought of the rock, paper, scissors, shoot thing where you go, do you go on rock, paper, scissors or on shoot? Or totally same.
Yeah, because that was the thing I was having. Oh, wait, you guys haven't established if it's 3 or go yet. And they kind of, they did that whole thing.
Always establish.
Yeah, and that it was Larry's urn that ended up jamming the wheel. Again, I feel like story-wise was a nice little thing for like Lenny's belief in this that he's got their back. Yeah. All right, it's time to rank this thing. Man, speaking of teetering, and I'm in the front and I don't know which way to jump, so I'm throwing the responsibility going first to Jim. What do you reckon?
Oh no. Well, you see, I'm also teetering right now pretty gingerly. I was hoping you would go first.
Participant.
Beach. Okay, BT's going to go first.
Cut through the noise, if I may.
Oh, you jumped out and sent us all down, raiding down the cliff. Sorry, participant.
I was trying to help. Look, the discussion has definitely brought me up on this one. I do kind of want to revisit it and reevaluate, but I just kind of left with a very neutral feeling. I think it's got some good ideas that it doesn't pursue properly, and that ultimately leaves me disappointed because this could have been better. It has some interesting stuff, but nothing fits together and feels fleshed out and complete to me. So I am with a participant. It feels, even in my chest as I say that now, my heart's like, that's a little low. But I'm also like, shut up, heart. You want to give this a bronze? It's like, I don't. Okay,
well then I'm going to go next and really torture our third person. I in that case, I think I am going to go bronze in this case. And here's why. I think that even though I have reservations about the gem plot and how it links up to the Larry storyline, I do like that this episode goes there and that there is substance to this episode. I do think it has a really strong foundation. I think the joke writing in particular is pretty solid overall. There are a few stinkers like that breath joke, but I think, as we've said, the quality of the writing is much stronger here. So even though I'm really side-eyeing the second half with some of the gem stuff, I think it has a strong enough foundation and has enough substance that I'll give it a bronze in this case.
Yeah.
See, now you're our tiebreakers. I'm really serving you up now.
Yeah, I think I'm going to go a bronze as well. And it is a little bit, I like this episode of what it could be, but also there is stuff there. And like I said, there's even a few things which, there's a lot of, circling good ideas and, not capitalizing them, but I think there's also a fair amount of subtext or implication that I enjoyed from this episode. And, yeah, to back up your point, James, it's just, writing's a bit stronger on this one.
Yeah.
And
I think that's something interesting on this is the things that I like in the subtext, I'm not sure they're intentional.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You can put it down to that as well, definitely. And, in reflection, there's a handful of jokes that I do like. There's a handful I don't. But, I think ultimately, I think this was a worthwhile episode, and to just give this character anything is an interesting idea, and they did it well enough. I've certainly got my problems, and definitely the ending where it does turn out that Mo smuggled the gems himself is, really put a sour taste on the whole thing, but there's enough going on.
In a weird way, I feel like this is a quote unquote disappointing bronze for me, because when I watch this episode, I do see somewhere in this episode, there's like a gold in here. Like I can see a gold episode somewhere in here, but it just doesn't quite come together. Like it doesn't hit that potential. I'm not going to say like the best possible rank, like maybe that's in there. I don't know if they just really nailed it, put in all of BT's ideas, like maybe they could have gotten there.
Get BT on the writing stuff, yeah.
Like bronze isn't terrible, but it could have been so much better.
No, disappointing bronze is a good way to put it. And yeah, a dull bronze seems very fair for this episode. It'll be, so far, the second episode from season 35 to get a dull bronze. It'll be joining Lisa Gets an F1, which is the episode with the very brief Mario Kart sequence. And and I think our guests enjoyed that one a bit more than we did. I think we were quite annoyed. But, season 35 has also got one of our highest rated episodes of the modern era in A Mid-Childhood Night's Dream, where Marge is sick and got fantasies and insecurities about the kids getting older and everything.
Lisa growing up, yeah.
Okay, I was wondering what you guys would have thought of that episode. I think I missed that episode of the podcast, but yeah, that episode is so good. Carolyn Omine, she is brilliant. So yeah, that episode I'm glad to hear you guys really like that one.
Yeah,
unanimous gold for that one. That's absolute one of our favorites. Jim, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you for having me on the show. You guys are always a delight, and you guys have like so many interesting ideas with it. Like sometimes I listen to the podcast, and like me, like I can be a little bit of an apologist for The Simpsons, so I like am shaking my fist at you guys at home. I was like, you guys are being too mean to this episode. But you guys like always reason your ideas, so like you guys have so many smart ideas, even if I do disagree with some of them. So like I really enjoy like how you guys articulate and everything. So I think you guys are always fair to the show in terms of those criticisms. Appreciate you guys having me on.
Oh, I always take the stance that the only wrong opinion is the one you can't justify.
Yeah.
So as long as you can back up why you feel a way about something with some kind of explanation, cool. So it's good to know that comes across even if you disagree.
Yeah, definitely.
No, because we definitely like just don't want to be New Simpson bad. Like we want to, we like to show our
like
working.
things.
Yeah, we do want to like things, and one of the things we like is your YouTube channel, man. And speaking of thoughtful Simpsons content, absolutely love the work you're doing over there. Tell the people more about it.
Sure. So in case you don't know me, I'm TheRealJims. I run a YouTube channel. Terrible channel name. It's not related to those gems at all from this episode. But yeah, I've just been doing a bunch of Simpsons reviews. I actually just today, not to give away what day we recorded, but I just came out with an episode about how The Simpsons fumbled the bag over and over again in so many episodes and lost out on millions and millions of dollars. So check out that episode.
Curious about that.
Wow.
Yeah.
We just did one about Mr. Largo recently, and we did one about, and I don't know why I'm saying we because it's just me, but I did one about the opening credits recently. I'm not sure what I'm going to do next, actually. So like, look forward to whatever the next one is. Might be a Simpsons Did It episode, maybe. Maybe I'll watch, I don't know, like Arthur or something. So we'll see.
Rugrats one you did a little while ago, that was really good.
Yeah, it'd been forever since I've seen that Rugrats episode. So yeah, maybe I might be seeing a Simpsons Did It soon. And I think I owe everybody couch gags, like an analysis on couch gags. So you might see that eventually too. So keep on the lookout.
Wonderful. Yeah, and your season reviews and top 10 episode lists. Again, I do my own little shaking fist moment, but I feel like, you always present a good case for putting those episodes in the order that you do, yeah.
Appreciate that. Like, those retrospectives are so hard to do with all the note-taking and the screen capping and everything. They are a giant bitch. I'll just say it that way. So, so it'll be a while till the next one, but I will eventually do season 20.
All right. And BT, what if people want more of us?
Right, they can use on their podcatcher they're using right now for free. Check out Starring Springfield. If you're like, hey, you know what, that Albert Brooks fellow, has he been in any movies? He sure has. This is a podcast where we review movies starring the cast of The Simpsons, and for Albert Brooks, we just dropped Taxi Driver. That is out there. Or if you want to maybe check out something you haven't seen or heard of, you can also listen to our review of Defending Your Life. Which I'm pretty sure is on the free feed, but if it's not, you know what you can do then? And as alluded to through Quiet Whispers earlier, you can go to patreon.com/SideQuestStudios, where there's like, what are we up to, like 80 Starring Springfields now? You can unlock like that. I missed my click. That, and there's like over 200 exclusive podcasts on that feed. My gosh, so much content, so cheap.
Yeah, we mentioned it before. We reviewed all the DVD extras of the Simpsons DVD box sets. That was a lot of fun going through all that extra material. Yeah. And we've just started a series recently called Brad Bird Watching, where we're going through the films that Brad Bird either directed, acted in, or was a writer of. So... Yeah, we just released our review of The Iron Giant. That movie is fucking amazing, not to give away the rankings. But yeah, that's a good series. But yeah, starring Springfield's the big project we're pushing right now. And yeah, just having a lot of fun reviewing a lot of different movies starring the cast members of The Simpsons. Yeah, we get cinematic classics like Taxi Driver, and then baffling pieces of shit like Rhapsody Street Kids Believe in Santa. Like,
is that a real movie?
Oh, yeah.
Maybe. I'm not sure. It's definitely
define movie.
I feel like you just like said a bunch of random word salad just now.
Pretty much. That's kind of that movie as well.
I hadn't heard that record since we did it until it hit the free feed. I'm like, oh yeah, this one kind of broke my brain a little bit.
Yeah. No, it's like this 40-minute Christmas special starring Nancy Cartwright. She was also an exec producer on it. But the whole Rhapsody Street Kids, Believe in Santa, like they wanted this, much like the way that Simpsons launched with the Christmas special as their pilot. They wanted the Rhapsody Street Kids to launch with a Christmas special as the pilot for an ongoing franchise. And this thing is wild. It's like year 2000 3D animation, but it looks like it was rendered on a broken PlayStation 1. Jim's has got I'm Googling right now face.
Yeah, this is like would I rather look at this or the Simpsons fingernails choices right now? So.
Yeah, it is free on YouTube because no one wants to claim ownership.
Yeah. Real Sophie's choice there. Kill them both. But yeah, we have a lot of fun digging into that.
Sorry, that's such a plot twist ending for Sophie's choice. It's like, kill both of them.
But yeah, all that links to that and more in the show notes. But for now, that'll be it for the Simpsons Index for this week. Once again, James, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thanks for having me on. Appreciate it.
Absolutely. BT, thank you.
Ahoy.
And I've been your host, Elliot Jay O'Neill. That's all the mustard in the house.
All the gems in the urn.
All the gems in Mo's stomach.
Oh yeah, I forgot that's how that ended.
Thank you for listening to the Simpsons Index podcast, which is also an online spreadsheet available at thesimpsonsindex.com. We're also on social media. You can follow us on Blue Sky, Instagram, and on Threads. Links for all that and more are down in the show notes. And lastly, consider giving us a 5-star review. Why not? We'd do it for you. Now, there's no bonus scenes for this episode. Everything we left in was pure gold, so we'll catch you next time.